Welcome back to Chronos, the channel that explores alternate universes and asks the question, what if? Today, we continue our journey in the world of superheroes and ask the question, what if Deku became Saitama? In Part 4, we witness the hero's unfathomable endurance as he never seems to tire and explore the deeper meaning of what it truly means to be a hero. Chapter 12:1 Don't Get Tired. It's been a few days since the USJ attack and UA has been under fire from the media and the public. Villains were able to bypass their security system and infiltrate the school. Several students were injured, but the biggest critique was the fact that the students had to fight. In the aftermath, Nizu attended a press conference to do damage control with him announcing the improvement of the security system and prioritizing the safety of the students. Many questioned just how big a threat this League of Villains was, with Nizu assuring they were working with the police in an effort to bring them to justice. They began to focus on how the attack ended. A reporter told of a reliable source that told her that the Vigilante One saved the students and defeated the villains. As much as he didn't want to mention it, he had to admit he saved the day. The plan was to keep one's name out of this if no one brought it up. The only ones who knew he was there were the students, teachers, and several members of law enforcement who saw the video footage of the attack. He admitted that it was true. One came after one of the students radioed for help. On behalf of UA, a public apology was given for even needing to be saved by an illegal hero. That went a lot better than I expected. Thanks for not making me go out. A bandaged Aizawa said as he sat with Nizu after he left the press conference. It's behind us now, all we can do is move forward. Nizu stated, the sports festival is coming up, we're gonna need to amp up security this year. Do we know who we are hiring yet? I've sent the requests out to several heroes, all of whom agreed to help. We wanted to keep his name out of any association with UA, but what about one? Detective Tsukachi and other investigators are reviewing the footage of the USJ attack. It seems as though one also has a fire quirk. They were able to collect some DNA from the creature called Nomu and send it to a lab. I should be hearing from them soon. As for one, it seems the jury is still out on his true identity. The hero let out a sigh. Of course. He paused for a moment before continuing. It's just a feeling, but I think Yaoyorosa knows something. Nizu's face shifted in surprise at this. What makes you suspect her? The way she spoke about him on the bus to the USJ. On top of that, after the villains retreated, he checked everyone's injuries, and though I was in bad shape, I could still see and hear what was going on. The way those two interacted and spoke to each other seemed as though they were at least familiar with one another. Are you going to confront her about this? No, not yet. I'm gonna observe her for a while. Well, if she does know who he is, maybe she can help us get him on the right side of heroics. I'll keep an eye on her too and keep tabs on one, but for now I'll leave it to you, Eraserhead. In the Fujiwara lab, Isuku had come over to Taku's after school after Taku had made a discovery from the sample of the Nomu that he gave him. He wouldn't tell him what he found until they were in the lab, only that it was very serious. What he found out was clearly bothering him, but he told Isuku he would show him later. The attack from the other day had made a splash in the hero community. Villains were not only bold enough but actually able to infiltrate UA and attack. He saw highlights of the press conference and was surprised that they confirmed that it was one who sent the villains packing. He was sure that saving his students and having the world know it has only added fuel to the flames of Eraser's dislike of him. He wondered what the true goal of the League of Villains was. No sane villain would dare attack UA. They allowed for so many unknowns and were completely uncoordinated. Maybe the true goal of the attack was just to prove that they could. Momo said they came to kill All Might, but their plan was terrible. Thoughts for later. I should see what Taku found out about Nomu, as well as share info about my own investigations. I'm really interested and worried about what you found. Seriously man, it's been freaking you out all day. So what is it? Izuku asked Taku as they both approached the supercomputer. He had been silent since they made it to the elevator leading to the lab. I'm still not entirely sure what this monster was, but given what you told me, I think you needed to see this. He pressed a key and a mugshot of a man with a mad expression, light olive green hair and thick lips came up on the screen. What exactly am I looking at? Izuku asked. Having already suspected this yet still afraid of what the answer would be. In short, this guy is the base of that Nomu monster. He was a petty criminal who went missing about 6 months ago, Taku answered casually. Izuku was horrified. Given its looks and mannerisms, nothing outside of its physique would have implied that Nomu was ever human. He registered Taku's words. What do you mean base? Using the sample of flesh you gave me, I was able to study and break it down to do an intricate examination of whatever the hell this thing was. I have to admit I was surprised at seeing human DNA. I had a theory going in and it turns out I was right. This guy's DNA had been spliced all the way to hell, I'd say with about 4 other people. His body was modified and mutated as a result, assuming to be able to handle the biological strain of possessing multiple quirks. I ran the sample through a database and last night I found this guy. His quirk was shock absorption apparently. So you're saying that this League of Villains has someone who can do this to people, someone who through mad science can inject the quirks of others into someone else at the price of becoming a mindless abomination, and I assume that this is just one of many. He said, looking at Isuku, genuinely concerned of how big this could be. Isuku looked at his hand, trembling as a thought he wanted to deny suddenly crept up on him. I killed someone, he said in a low voice just audible to Taku. I wouldn't go that far, Isuku, he said, meeting his friend's eyes. How can you not? His voice raised almost distressed. You weren't listening to what I said before. This guy's DNA has been spliced and mutated. He wasn't human anymore. His humanity, his very sense of self and sentience had literally been ripped apart. I never got to see what this thing was, but I can only assume the process of doing this turns the person into a mindless, obedient beast. Remember, what we call a quirk is merely a mutation of the human genome. The effects of forcibly combining one's own with another's, let alone several others, would be monstrous. No matter who you are, I'm gonna need to talk to Yaoyorozu to get more details on this thing. Do you have any idea who could have done this? Not a clue. But the guy's name was Ishiki Ishikawa. The cops have been looking for him ever since he failed to meet with his parole officer a few months back. Apparently he used to frequent underground fight clubs and he's originally from Hiroshima, so there's a place to start. He would need some time to come to terms with this. Moving on, he needed to share the results of his own investigations. Well, moving on for now, I've been doing my own little investigation on the hero killer. I know he was behind those murders the other day, but I think he's moved on. You see, he usually kills or cripples 3 to 5 pros in a certain area before moving on. I know where he likes to strike from and think I can narrow his targets down. All we need is to know where he headed next. Then we can go from there. And also, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a syringe with some kind of green liquid that made his sidekick narrow his eyes, surprised. Is that Dash? Trigger? Yes, it is. We're going to thoroughly examine this and try coming up with a counter drug to reverse the effects. Also, I found that an executive at a pharmaceutical company is using one of their warehouses as a lab for this stuff. They're preparing a big order for someone, so I'm gonna take them out tomorrow night. Look at Detective 1 making me irrelevant for the first time in a while. Let's get started. He joked before Isuku took a seat beside him and they began their investigation. Before we start this, I also wanted to let you know the One Hero app is done. I should have it available by tomorrow, he stated proudly. Nice job, Intech. That actually crossed my mind the other day, and I think this may force me to work all over the country. I'm gonna be all over the place. Dude, you can move faster than light, you can get anywhere in literal seconds, he exclaimed dramatically. As soon as someone reports a crime, the app tells you where they are. You go to them and handle business. I don't normally move that fast, you know, mainly because there's never a reason to. But you're right, I'm more than fast enough to get anywhere in the country to help anyone in no time. While we're on the subject, let me show it to you, Taku said before he pressed a key and the app opened and loaded up on the screen. It showed a solid green background with an avatar of one in his stance with his confident smile and a white outline before going to the home page. An avatar of an ant with cybernetic attachments came up on the screen and walked them through the features. Taku explained that this avatar will be the face of Intech as he showed Isuku everything that he put into it, from where the public can send requests and him viewing those same requests, to a community page where he can talk to fans and view support, where he lets the users know he's on patrol, confirming when he's resolved the case. Intech even made a feature where the public can view what he's doing in real time to feel a part of the action. It's basically him sharing what he sees when he watches one in action. The difference is he can turn it off for the public, only giving them short clips at a time and of course giving one a heads up when he does this. All in all, the app looked awesome. This would definitely substitute for not having a legit hero agency. Isuku had decided to spend the night at Taku's house. Their investigation of the hero killer had lasted late, but they were pretty confident of what they found. Taku finding a pattern in all the cities he's struck and surmised that he'll probably be in Hosa's city next, while Isuku, after viewing police sketches and listening to survivor statements, deduced that he paralyzes his targets by cutting them or getting their blood. He wasn't positive yet but was sure these were the two most likely answers to how he was able to just slash and stab his targets without them ever being able to fight back. Once they know where he is next, they can predict who he'll attack and where he'll attack from. It would take some time, but they were certain they could make a counter-drug for Trigger. He noticed that he received a text from Momo asking him if he wanted to come to UA. The sports festival was coming up and she told the class of how his quirk knowledge could help them all train and prepare. He agreed and would meet her after school. He woke up Taku and enjoyed a delicious breakfast with the Fujiwara family before the two boys headed out. Izuku headed straight to UA after school let out. He was still in his school uniform as he approached the campus. Outside the gate he finds Momo waiting for him with a guest pass. "Welcome Izuku, how are you today?" she asks with a smile. "I'm fine, yourself?" he replied. "I'm alright, I'm glad you came. I admit I was surprised you wanted me to help your classmates train for the sports festival. It's a huge deal every year, so why not help those competing be better, getting a chance to meet new people and analyze new quirks. I knew you would enjoy this. Shall we go inside?" She gestured to the school. "We shall," he answered, smiling back at her as they passed the gates. Izuku looked around at everything as they passed through the courtyard leading to the school. He had to pause for a moment and look at the giant building before they went in. Momo noticed that he was deep in thought with many as well as several emotions going through him. "If only things were a little different, I would be here too," he said out loud with a hint of sadness in his voice. Momo didn't say anything and just took his hand in hers, perfectly understanding. They make their way through the school and Izuku is like a kid in a candy store mesmerized by what he sees. There were other students from other years around studying or preparing for the festival. This was the top hero school in the country and he wanted to know the quirks of all those in the hero course. He would get to find out today, as given the situation it would have been inappropriate for one to ask back at the USJ. As they walked through the hall, Momo kept looking at Izuku. It appeared as though he was taller than her now. "Izuku, did you get taller or is it the shoes?" The boy chuckled a little in realization. "Oh yeah. I did a physical before school and I grew to 177 centimeters. He took a hand and passed it over her head, showing he was in fact taller than her. He smiled before playfully teasing her. "It took almost a year, but it looks like I'm finally taller than you, Momo." Momo gently popped his cheek. "Whatever, I just developed early. You know it's a fact, girls grow faster than boys." She smiled as she jokingly sounded like a know-it-all. "True enough," Izuku said, fighting the urge to say that's some sweet development. They were still holding hands when Momo suddenly let go when they reached a giant door that said 1A. Momo told him of how some of her classmates elected to train on their own, but some decided to see who she would bring. They could both hear people talking on the other side of it, and all eyes were on them when they entered, with a glare instantly appearing on the face of a familiar ash blonde. Most of the people in the room were standing around talking amongst each other. There were about 10 and all of the faces he recognized from the USJ, and in the moment of silence he raised his hand and said, "Hey everyone." The moment these words left his lips, the pink girl from before walked up to him with a big smile. "So you're Yamamo's boyfriend? Nice to meet you, I'm Mina Shido," she exclaimed. "Likewise, I'm Izuku Midoriya, also, Yamamo?" he asked, turning to his lady friend. "It's just a nickname," she replied casually. He smiled as he turned back to Ashido. "Wish I'd come up with it." A midget with purple balls on his head walked up to him next with a look of heartbreak and depravity. "Midoriya. Please. You gotta tell me how you scored the hottest girl in our class," he asked desperately, looking as if he were on the verge of tears. We're not dating actually, we're just really good friends." The boy's ears were suddenly pierced by what looked like phone jacks. He could see they were connected to a girl's ears. "Please ignore him, I'm Jiro." A brown-haired girl walked up to him next. "Hi, I'm Ochako Uraraka. Yayarosa said you could help us all improve our quirks. Thanks for coming," she said with a bright smile. He smiled back at her. "It's not a problem. Seeing and analyzing different quirks is kind of a hobby of mine, and I was able to help Momo strengthen hers, so I think I can help you all out," he said confidently. The blonde on the other side of the room had grown tired of watching this. He was shooting a rage-fueled glare at his former classmate who hadn't acknowledged him yet. The only reason he's still here instead of training by himself was because Spiky Ponytail said she knew someone who could help them strengthen their quirks, who was also far stronger than her. Glasses had just introduced himself and he was sick of this shit. He got out of his seat and barged through those in front of him until he was face to face with the brunette. "What the hell are you doing here, DKU?" Izuku just rolled his eyes, completely unsurprised at how little he's changed even though they haven't interacted in months. "Well, hello to you too, Kaken. I'm glad to see that you're doing okay," he answered calmly, something that only seemed to anger the teen more. "The hell's that supposed to mean?" "It means I'm glad you are okay. I heard from Aunt Mitsuki that you got hurt in the attack, but I can see it was no big deal," he replied calmly with a smile. This caused his anger to grow as he grabbed Izuku's shirt by the collar, something that shocked everyone observing. "Still thinking that you're something, aren't you, fucking nerd?" he growled as he held onto the brunette, who wasn't in the slightest bit intimidated. Ida was demanding he let him go as he was a guest at their school, but he wasn't listening. "Wait, Spiky Ponytail, don't tell me that this quirkless reject is the one you were talking about?" he demanded as he shot a glare at the girl, with his claim of Izuku being quirkless confusing the others. Momo returned his glare with one of her own. "Yes, Bakugo, Izuku is the person I was referring to who can help us improve and train our quirks for the sports festival. Now let him go. You're being awfully rude to a guest." The two glared at each other for a moment. Izuku could defuse this situation, but he was enjoying watching Momo put Bakugo in his place. He can't stand when someone he knows is stronger than him talks to him a certain way, not too different from how he does actually. He released Izuku and exited the classroom. "This was a waste of my time," he growled before leaving. "You sure, Kaken? I know the perfect way to help you out?" Izuku genuinely asked. "Like I would ever need your help, you damn nerd. They wouldn't even let a useless reject like you into this damn school," he roared behind him as he walked away. "Seriously, what is his problem?" Jiro asked. "It's nothing, he's always been like that, especially towards me. He's always tried to bully and belittle me because I'm quirkless and wanted to be a hero, but I always rose above it. I even knocked him out once and he never got over it. So unmanly." A boy with spiky red hair stated. "He called you Deku, what does that mean?" Uraraka asked. "It means useless." I think his animosity skyrocketed when he found out I applied to the hero course here. "But if you're quirkless, why would you apply here?" the brunette asked, clearly ignorant. Momo was about to retort, but Izuku beat her to it. "Because I wanted to be a hero," Izuku said in a calm, dull voice while raising his right eyebrow while narrowing his left, looking at her like she's stupid. Uraraka lowered her head, realizing that was a stupid question. "Regardless of all that, I can personally attest for Izuku's ability in combat and to help us in this endeavor, so please at least listen to what he has to say." Everyone in the room nodded in agreement as Izuku was ready to begin. "Alright, first off, tell me what your quirks are." 30 minutes later, all of the students were in various places around the gym area doing specific training that Izuku had specified for them. Ida was told to run constant laps around the field for good long distance running to strengthen his calves. Ashido and Jiro found 2 large boulders, with Ashido constantly releasing acid from her hands while pressing them against the column to increase her amount and corrosiveness of her acid, while Jiro was constantly stabbing her earphone jacks into hers to increase and strengthen her hearing. Uraraka was using her quirk on heavy rocks and herself to increase the weight she can lift and to reduce nausea. Minato was continuously picking balls off his head to increase the number he can pull off and increase their sticky time. Momo was practicing her speed clone technique while Kirishima was getting pummeled by Ojiro, increasing the time and strength of his hardening while the tailed boy became more fluid with his tail. After an hour and a half, Izuku decided to let everyone take a break. "Hey everyone, let's take a little break," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear him. They all regroup at the edge of the field with everyone but Momo looking like death. "I can't feel my hands," Ashido complained. "You got it good. Every part of me hurts," Kirishima exclaimed. "At least you can feel." "My tail went numb over a half hour ago, I'm just throwing it at this point," Ojiro complained. Uraraka looked like she wanted to say something but ran to the fence and barfed a rainbow. "I'm sorry," she said, clearly embarrassed. "It's fine, Uraraka, it's a side effect of your quirk, just remember the better you get the less that will happen." Ida chopped as he tried to encourage his classmate. Guh. 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 Mineta sat with the group as he tried to form words, his head bleeding and his eyes white. I think this is going well. Quirks get stronger the harder you push them. Once you understand their strengths as well as their drawbacks, then figuring out how to train them is easy. Isuku stated confidently. Hey Midoriya, no disrespect of anything, but it's kind of ironic that someone without a quirk knows so much about them. Kirishima spoke up, stretched out on the ground. I'm not surprised you'd think that. I guess not having one of my own made me want to understand others. I've actually got notebooks full of pages on dozens of pros and their quirks. I think a part of me just wanted to know about them as much as I could. Your youth must have been difficult, being on the outside of a world built on quirks? Ida asked. It was a struggle sometimes. I remember when I was little after my diagnosis, a part of me still hoped I may get a quirk. I tried using both of my parents' quirks, but nothing ever happened, he said in a sad tone. Fortunately I was able to find a sanctuary, and I met teachers who believed I could be a hero even with my lack of a quirk. That's actually how I met Momo. We share a master. I trained for over 8 years only to be rejected by every school I applied to, including UA for the same reason. This knowledge made everyone sad because they know why they rejected him. I am sure they were just looking out for your well-being. Ida spoke up in defense of UA. Momo narrowed her eyes at this, but Isuku responded. That doesn't make it hurt any less. I had a dream, but they're not gonna let me try and fulfill it because they've decided my effort will never be good enough. I've accepted it and let it go, but how would you feel, Ida? Isuku asked the taller boy who looked down in shame. Uraraka spoke up, feeling a need to defend Ida. I think what Ida was trying to say is that the practical exam was dangerous. Honestly, if Ida hadn't saved me I probably would have died. It was wrong for them to not give you a chance though. Izuku's demeanor suddenly shifted. Oh well, it's in the past now. I let that dream go and now I have a new dream. Since you all are future heroes, the least I can do is use my skills to help you out. He exclaimed confidently. Yeah! Kirishima yelled as he shot to his feet. Let's get back to it, Midoriya. Yes, I've got a few more laps left in me. Ida said with new determination. Everyone got up with a new fiery determination to continue their training. Unbeknownst to them, Mr. Aizawa had been watching them for a while from the school a couple of floors up, the greenette catching his curiosity, so he went down to observe. Izuku went back observing everyone's training. Everything was going well and it seemed no one was ready to give up. They all kept pushing. He couldn't help but observe Momo the most. He had taught her how to make speed clones and he can tell she's definitely improving. Her fight with Tachibana Senpai really changed her from a combat perspective, and it looks to be for the better. A part of him wishes all of the class was here so that way he could add all of them to his notes. Hopefully he'll get a chance. Momo was concentrating as she practiced as she made 3 speed clones. It looked as if she had made 3 perfect replicas of herself, all holding a katana. 2 fire a vertical air slash while 2 rush out and counter them with horizontal air slashes, canceling each other out. The quartet of Momos then began practicing sword swings and throwing punches and kicks on opposite ends of each other. They did this for over a minute before the clones faded, leaving one Momo clutching her knees trying to catch her breath. I'm thankful to Izuku for teaching me this technique, but the concentration and footwork needed to do this is really difficult. She thought in between her deep breaths. As I am now, 3 clone after images is all I am able to make, and I can only maintain those clones for just over a minute. I could make 10, but I can't maintain them for very long. At most they'd be a distraction, not an attack. I need to improve. You can do this, Momo, she said, hyping herself up as she got back to training. Ida's legs were on fire, even after he had done over 100 laps by now, but he had to keep pushing until they were done for the day. He kept pushing further and further. He had to get faster, especially seeing Yaoyorozu's speed. He's nowhere near as fast as she is, and as he runs around the field he couldn't help but watch and be amazed at how much she was pushing to improve. He could also see Midoriya beating Kirishima with attacks he couldn't even follow, and if Midoriya was stronger than her as she claimed he was, then he should heed to his training suggestion. They had less than an hour left and he was going to keep pushing. Ashido, Jiro and Mineta were thinking the same thing. It hurts. Damn, it hurts. Midoriya's right. I gotta keep pushing, but damn does it hurt. Uraraka was trying not to vomit as she was making several large rocks and herself float while watching those in front of her train. Midoriya really is amazing. He hasn't let up on Kirishima once since he swapped out for Ojiro. It looks like it really hurts and he keeps getting up. Ida looks really tired too. Everyone else is working so hard. I can't let myself fall behind. Let's do it, she said as she hyped herself to keep going while she focused on her quirk. Ojiro couldn't feel his tail anymore. Izuku told him to rest up and he'll train with Kirishima. When the redhead was ready, Izuku slammed his fist into Kirishima's hard gut, forcing him back. In a flash he was on him, getting him with a barrage of kicks, ending it with a high kick to his left cheek. Kirishima took that, but it really hurt. Izuku then pummels him with a flurry of constant punches. He toned down the power as it was clearly too much. This continued for over half an hour before he decided to let Ojiro back in, so one more go before they will switch out. Izuku gets Kirishima with a one-leg donkey kick, sending the redhead roughly 50 feet in the air. The greenette appears above him in mid-backflip, kicking him in the head that sends him straight back to the ground, making his feet crack the ground where he landed. I'm alive. Kirishima roars past the pain, more to hype himself up than thinking he would have died just now. His body was still hard with his arms bent above his head. Izuku came down, grabbing Kirishima's arms before bringing his knee down on his face, driving him into the ground and burying him in a waist-deep hole. Izuku backflips and lands gracefully in front of the hole. He can tell the other boy is on his last legs, and that last beating was probably a little much. He definitely should have pulled back more, but he insisted he could handle it. He looks beaten all to hell and he's clearly in a lot of pain. Kirishima, can you get out of there? He genuinely asked. Yeah, just get this out, he said as he tried and failed to lift himself out of the ground. His head was throbbing and he couldn't focus on anything but the pain as his hardening faded. Midoriya, could you help me out? He admitted in defeat. Izuku extended a hand to the boy and with one pull was able to lift him out of the hole and place him on the flat field. Let's call it a day. You should go see your school nurse. She's here today, right? He asked casually. Sure. Man, I get your quirkless, Midoriya, but how are you so strong? You were beating the crap out of me non-stop. Your hands and legs aren't even hurting and you're not even tired. What kind of training did you do? The kind that had me in agony every moment of every day for over 8 years. He replied with a smile. Sensing a presence, he turned around to see a bandaged-up Eraserhead heading their way. He could sense someone watching them for a while now. It must have been him. Hey Mr. Aizawa, come to help us train? Kirishima asked. You're the Erasure hero, Eraserhead. Momo told me you were her homeroom teacher, he exclaimed, sounding like the hero fanboy, to give the impression that this is their first meeting. No, you look like you've got this under control. I've been observing you all for a while, and it seems Yaoyorozu was right to ask you for help. Your name? I am Izuku Midoriya, sir. He answered respectfully. You were able to come up with ways for the students to fundamentally strengthen their quirks. How did you do it? He asked, genuinely curious. Well, I asked everyone to tell me what their quirks were as well as drawbacks, and based on that I was able to come up with ways for everyone to get stronger. I helped Momo in the same way before school started. I had her continuously create things while eating a bunch of fatty food. The results speak for themselves. The speed of her creations is significantly better than before we did that. She can use it longer and create larger things without expelling much energy. He said confidently. That's very impressive. I saw you training with Kirishima. Is that how you learned to train your own quirk? Is it a power type? No, I'm quirkless, sir. He replied casually. His eyes visibly shifted at this. Then how is it possible for you to be so strong? Yaoyorozu too? I asked her about how she has superhuman prowess even though it has nothing to do with her quirk. How could just training do that? He asked, genuinely curious. I've trained in martial arts since I was 7, and Momo and I share a master. It's simply hard work, that's all. The human body is capable of amazing things. The world we live in is so centered around quirks, I think most have forgotten that. The training we've undergone, while very difficult, is something anyone can do, but the fact is they don't bother to. He answered, his eyes never leaving the prose. Aizawa took in the boy's words. He was out here helping the students actually strengthen their quirks, something they definitely wouldn't know how to do on their own. Yaoyorozu said the person that she would bring was even stronger than her and knew a lot about quirks. This boy clearly possesses many skills, and given how he responded to seeing him showed he is a huge hero fan, so why wouldn't he become a hero? I am curious, with all the skills and knowledge that you have, why wouldn't you become a hero? I wanted to once, unfortunately you can't be a hero without a quirk. This made the older man cringe in realization. It hurt to realize that, but I found a new dream. I'm at a great school with plenty of opportunities, people who support me, and if I can lend a hand to help future heroes, I don't mind doing that. He responded confidently as he looked out at everyone still training. I see. Well, thank you for helping our students. You have less than a half hour to finish strong. He called out to the students before walking away. As he headed back to the school, he could only think of that boy. He would have made a fine student and hero. Izuku Midoriyama. Kirishima couldn't walk properly, so Izuku lent him his shoulder as they went to the nurse's office. They get there and Izuku was excited to meet the recovery hero, recovery girl. He was even more excited to see her quirk in action. Kirishima was covered in injuries that were intense but not too bad, but he was scolded for hitting so hard during training. Still, he made a mental note to add her to his journals as he asked her many questions about her quirk. When they two came back, they saw that everyone had finished up and were ready to go. They all went their separate ways, with Ashito giving Izuku and Momo a knowing look as they left together. Everyone had taken Izuku's advice and assured him they would train this way until the sports festival and that he doesn't mind helping them again sometime. He even got Kirishima, Ashito and Jiro's numbers before they, along with him and Momo, went on their way. This had been an interesting couple of hours, and he was making some new friends. He decided to call Taku since he, Momo and Jiro decided to head to the White Fox Cafe for some food. The group talked amongst themselves as many of them were excited for the sports festival. Izuku was having good conversations with the three. He found out that Jiro likes music and Ashito likes to dance. She and Kirishima went to the same middle school and were already friends. Momo was watching, happy that Izuku was getting along so well with her closest girlfriends in the class. Hey, you all saw Principal Mizu during the press conference, right? I'm still really glad they didn't cancel the sports festival. Kirishima said as they walked. I saw it. The UA Sports Festival is a big event every year. They're definitely going to beef up security this time around. Izuku stated. That aside, the attack was crazy, and the way one showed up was awesome. Ashito exclaimed. Hey Yamamoto, how did it feel for the hero to hold you bridal style? She asked, giving the girl a playful smirk. Izuku, pretending like he's just now learning about it. Yeah Momo, what was that like? Sounding suspicious while giving her a charming smile with his head to the others. I'm grateful to one for saving the day, that is all. She said, trying not to blush or look at Izuku. Speaking of one, he was pretty cool in person. Jiro chimed in. Yeah. The dude was super manly at the USJ. It really sucks I couldn't see him fight though. Kirishima said, slightly disappointed. What do you think of one Ashito? The greenette ached. I'm actually a big fan. Back in middle school he saved my friend from some crazy drug guys. They kidnapped her and sewed some kind of drug into her and some other people and were going to ship her who knows where, but one saved her and everyone else. Izuku cringed a little remembering that case. A criminal group was kidnapping people and turning them into drug mules for a very addictive synthetic they invented that they were hoping to sell and spread across Europe. He got his hands on a sample from taking down a member of the operation and after seeing an abduction followed them back to their base in the woods where they had a plane on a runway waiting. He swiftly took everyone down and after getting the victims to the hospital, surgeons were able to remove all the bags and all of them. So no matter what anyone says, he's a hero in my book. I just wish I knew what he looked like. If his face is anything like those muscles, he's probably super hot. She exclaimed with a giddy smile. Izuku only smiled at the girl, happy that his actions positively affected more than just the person he saved. I'm a fan of his too. I think he's a real hero. Izuku stated casually. Ashito and Kirishima broke from the group together while the others went to the cafe. He and the girls took a seat in Izuku's usual booth. They talk amongst themselves and after a while Taku walks in and sits beside Izuku across from Jiro. What's up good people, hope you're enjoying this day. Here you go Yaoyorozu, he said, handing her a piece of paper. This made Izuku curious as to what that could be because neither one of them mentioned it to him. And what is that? He asked, looking at Momo. Just something I needed, she responded casually. Takumi Fujiwara, nice to meet you. He smiled as he introduced himself to Jiro. Kyoka Jiro, nice to meet you too. So I heard Isa helped your class train for the sports festival. How'd that go? Midori is a slave driver, but it all worked out. You'll be good for the festival if you keep it up, Jiro. Isuku chimed in. Speaking of which, when is the sports festival for your school? Momo asked both boys. Ours is in 2.5 weeks, I think. Isuku answered, raising an eyebrow, not really sure. Something like that. It should be fun and entertaining, but it's not on the level of UA's. Taku jokes. I'm really looking forward to it. All the pros in Japan will be watching. I want to impress as many as I can. Momo stated, excited for the festival. You'll be fine, both of you. Just keep training hard until the festival. I'll be rooting for both of you. The teens continued to talk, eat, and enjoy each other until it got dark. Isuku had been meaning to go on patrol, but he was enjoying himself. He was suddenly thrown off when Taku took this moment to advertise the app. Hey, I'm not sure if any of you have heard, but you know one has an app apparently? Both girls' eyes widened in shock, Momo's being fake while Jiro's was genuine. What, really? The earlobe girl asked. Yeah, I was surfing the web earlier and I found it. This is real apparently. It even tells you when he's on patrol and you can report crimes or anything suspicious. He pulled out his phone and showed it to the girls. Both were impressed by the look and features of the app, with both of them quickly downloading it. So it's kinda like he's using this as a substitute for a hero agency. Doesn't look like he's on patrol at the moment. Jiro stated. It looks that way, Taku responded, not showing her guess was right on point. That's relatively smart, and a bit reckless. It looks like others have already downloaded this. Momo stated. They all get up and leave the cafe with Jiro and Taku heading home while Isuku walks with Momo to the train station. Today was nice. I'm really glad my classmates seemed to like you, Isuku. They all seemed alright. Not surprised Bakugo didn't want to stick around though. By the way, I saw you speaking with Mr. Aizawa back at school. What were you two talking about? It was basically him being impressed because I knew how you all could improve your quirks. He saw me training with Kirishima and wondered if I trained my quirk the same way. He was really shocked when I told him I didn't have a quirk. I can believe that. He approached me after the quirk apprehension test about my strength and abilities, and I told him it was just training. I don't think he believed me, but it was the truth. I know what you mean. The training we've done is intense, grueling, and difficult. I'll tell you the same thing I told him. It's something anyone can do, but the fact is they don't bother to. True enough. They walked in silence for a few moments before Momo spoke up again. So do you have any interesting cases you're investigating at the moment? Yes, actually, I just confirmed a secret lab that is making and moving trigger. I'm taking it down tonight. Do you know who the ringleader behind that operation is? She asked curiously. I do actually, a certain executive from a certain company, but he won't be at the warehouse until a meeting tonight. I'll be waiting and ready to take everyone down and collect evidence. He stated proudly. Do you want me to make you a flash drive? Isuku smiled playfully at her. Come on, Momo, you know we call them goobers around here. Oh, I'm sorry, would like me to make you a goober? She smiled, responding sarcastically, putting strong emphasis on that last word. Yes, I would. He responded casually with a smile as Momo created a flash drive and handed it to him. You can never have too many of these, he said before putting it in his pocket. Try not to freak out, but we're also investigating the hero killer. His tone is more serious now. Momo's eyes widened upon hearing this. What? She exclaimed, bringing them both to a stop. Isuku brought a finger to his lips. Try to keep your voice down. Sorry, you just told me you're investigating and most likely planning to confront a serial killer. Excuse me for being a little surprised. She said in a stern voice. Momo, you know I face killers all the time. Yes, but this is a killer with a very specific target and one that is very efficient at killing heroes. She takes a deep breath to compose herself. What have you found? We suspect he'll strike in Hosa next, but unfortunately we need him to attack someone before we can pinpoint his location and next target. I also know that getting the blood of his target is the secret to whatever his quirk is. I'll be okay. I know I can stop him. I just wanted you to know what I was doing since you asked. His emerald eyes pierced her onyx ones as he spoke. Momo took a moment to think of everything Isuku had said to her. She was worrying too much. She knew full well who she was dealing with, and if anyone could stop the hero killer's reign of terror, it was one. Hell, he was virtually indestructible, and could become intangible, invisible, and was faster than light, and could part the ocean with a single punch on top of being a master martial artist. She was left with all these thoughts as they finally reached the train station. Sorry for getting so worked up before Isuku, it was just surprising, that's all. It's okay, I'm not mad. I can join you in your class for training again if you want. Yes. Let's definitely do this again. She exclaimed, her mood much happier. Let's just hope the whole class can join us. The two hugged before parting ways, with Isuku heading into the city and one went off to take down an illegal drug operation. Today was a good day, with so many developments from his hero life to personal life, and with this new app he knew both of them were about to get crazy. But he didn't mind it, he knew he could maintain these two lives. Both were equally important, and there is nothing the Izuku Midoriya or one can't do. Chapter 13 What Matters in New Friends. The country was on fire the next morning. All over the news many outlets were reporting how Trigger was being secretly made and distributed from a warehouse owned by a well-known and respected pharmaceutical company. A tip was called in by one who left unconscious guards, buyers for the drug and the ringleader for the authorities to find, along with a flash drive full of evidence. The authorities had been trying to get information on Trigger Labs, buyers and supply chains for months, and the evidence left by one gave them what departments all over the country were looking for and more. This led to the immediate investigation and exposure of secret labs all over the country, as well as the arrest of hundreds of people involved. The media was having a field day with the fact that an illegal hero was once again able to do something pros and police could not. It's been 3 days. Izuku had finished his morning training and was eating breakfast with his mom. Inko was happy that her son had accomplished something that had such a domino effect. She was also happy that the tune in the media was shifting to a far more positive one since the aftermath of the attack on the city. He was happy, truly happy, and it warmed her heart. He was doing good in school and he was living his dream. She was just so proud. Izuku saw his mother smiling at him, and while it didn't bother him, it made him curious. "Hi Mom, something you want to ask me?" he asked with a curious smile. The mother simply nodded her head and smiled at him. "No, I'm just so proud of you, Izuku. I remember how I felt when you told me you wanted to be this. I was so worried about how bad it could turn out, but you chased your dream and have done so many great things. You were so devastated when you were barred from the hero course, but you didn't let it break you. You showed that you're strong and capable, and you've helped a lot of people. You don't treat this like a game, and it actually matters to you. Stay gold, son." Izuku smiled with pure joy. He loved his mother, and every day he was thankful for the mother he had. She was amazing, supportive and loving. She has always given him everything he's needed, be it physical or emotional. "I will, Mom. I love you." Their beautiful moment was interrupted by a sudden news report. "We have breaking news. There seems to be a new app going around, and it appears to be run by the Vigilante One." The Greenettes turned to the TV to hear the report. "That's right, it looks like our local illegal hero is doing a little branding," said a female reporter. The Hero One app came up on the screen, and the reporter talked about the features that app entailed. Izuku liked this local news show as they talked about him the most. It was a team of 3 reporters, 1 woman and 2 men. One was Miko Fujioka, a beautiful woman with golden blonde hair, golden eyes with the whiskers, tail, and ears of a fox. One of the men was Ken Katakuri, by far his biggest hater and critic. He also did a radio show where he took every chance he could to slam one. After the fight with Vaccine Man, he was by far the loudest at making it clear it was all his fault. He's an older man with sharp features, slicked back gray hair and a lampshade mustache. The last one was Shuntaro Yugo, a handsome man with blue skin, blue eyes, shoulder-length dark blue hair. Whether he was ever on his side was hit or miss. They began to have a discussion about the app as well as his recent activities. Fujioka spoke first. "I'll be honest, when I first saw this I took it as a type of social media app, but after really looking into it, it's actually pretty smart on his end. What I mean by that is that this is a relatively good substitute for a hero agency, which I think that's what it's supposed to be. Regardless of this app's true purpose, this is next-level arrogance from him. We have a criminal and a menace telling the whole world, yes, I break the law, yes, this is what I'm going to do, and would you please help me be better at it? This is not a hero. I ask the actual, truly responsible and upstanding citizens of society? Do not indulge in this app. Katakuri exclaimed. Yugo went next. While I can't agree with his unprofessionalism, the results speak for themselves. He exposed a massive drug operation. Many pros and police have been left holding an empty bag. The incident at UA, responding before any of the teachers could. I don't know what he'll do next, but we've talked about him enough to know he's very efficient, and his way of investigating clearly works for him. The older man narrowed his eyes at his colleague. You're missing the point, Yugo. Because he's good he gets a pass on breaking every quirk law and hero regulation there is? We have pro heroes and police with credentials, authority and the ability to handle these situations. He breaks the law with impunity. Big deal, he's still a criminal. He is taking work for real heroes. I've spoken to several pros on the record, they do not like him. He hides behind a mask and he needs to be stopped because this app is liable to be a bigger thorn to real heroes. The public calls the police when a crime is committed, they then send those reports to hero agencies. What do you think will happen if they can just report those crimes to a vigilante? He exclaimed, almost yelling. Fujioka responded, not intimidated by his words as they were standard for him. He'll probably handle it. The app tells you when he's on duty and it doesn't look like you can send a request when he's not, so it should be fine. Also it looks like you can call him through the app if he accepts your request. Many people have already downloaded this and they seem to like it. It's smart branding if nothing else. Yugo made his last thought. I hope this leads to his capture very soon, that is all. The two Midoriyas turn away from the screen, both pretty impressed that report was pretty good. Well, that's good free advertising. Isuku stated casually. Inko turned to her son. I downloaded your hero app and it looks really cool. I'm assuming Takumi made this? I gave some design suggestions, but all the coding that went into this is all Taku. I'm pretty sure that making the news isn't gonna stop people from downloading it. If anything, they'll want to do it more. Be careful, Isuku. Anyone can use this to lure you into a trap or something. I thought about that even before we made the app. I'll be fine, Mom. He reassured her. She smiled at him before giving him a hug. Do your best, son. They embraced for a moment before Inko pulled away, looking up at him. I can't believe you're almost as tall as your father. Izuku scratched his cheek with a finger as he smiled back at her. Well, I have shot up 11 centimeters since last year. Speaking of Dad, do you know the next time he'll be home? He said he'll be home for a few weeks before and during your summer break. That's great. I actually haven't spoken to Dad since Vaccine Man's attack. He was so worried. Izuku paused for a moment before continuing. Do you think I should tell him I'm about my hero identity? Inko crossed her arms as she thought to herself. Yes, but it should be at the right time where you can explain everything and show him how strong you've become so he won't worry like I used to. Alright, I'll do that. See you later, Mom. He said to her as he walked out the door headed to school. High above the city of Muzutafu, the winged hero, Hawks flies across the city as he looks at his phone. An interested smile on his face as he goes through the Hero One app. This guy really has an app to act as his agency, man, talk about creative. He exclaims with laughter. Still though, I want to talk to him as soon as I can. Given the times he's usually cited, he's probably at work or in school, so let's figure out which it is. He said as he continued to fly. At Rising Sky, Rumi Usajiyama, the rabbit hero, Mirko, looks at her phone as she prepares to go on her morning patrol. Since she came back, she's been hard at work with training. When she's not working, she's training with her master and the girls, who she has gotten pretty close to. Kiyuki quickly became like a little sister to her and she enjoys playfully picking on Saki. It caused quite a stir in the dojo when people found out that she was living there, but Keizo calmed the situation. Yo, Ruchan, off to work. Came a voice she registered as Kiyuki. Looking up, she could see Kiyuki and Saki walking up to her dressed in their school uniforms. Yeah, I'm hopping out in a bit. She replied. She took a moment before asking the girls a question. Hey, have you two seen this app for that vigilante one? This made the girls' eyes widen as they weren't expecting this. Yeah, our friends Midoriya and Fujiwara told us about this. The news was talking about it a few minutes ago too. Kiyuki responded. Okay, what do you two think about this? The rabbit woman asked. I thought it was interesting, so I downloaded it. There's a community page on the app and people really love the guy apparently. Saki answered. Same, I downloaded it because it's interesting, you know I don't need a hero to save me but still. Kyuki responded. Why do you ask? I've been wanting to fight this guy for a while, and I think this gave me the perfect opportunity. She looked at her phone with a fierce smile. Well, good luck with that, Ruchan, see you later and enjoy your patrol. Kyuki said as the two girls headed to the train station. As Isuku was just passing the front gates of Sakai High, he suddenly felt a presence behind him. He didn't turn around to look as Taku slung his arm around his neck. 1,000. We've had over 1,000 freaking downloads since it made the news. We are about to be working, my guy. He exclaimed. How many do we even have right now anyway? It's been up for a couple days, but we're hovering at around 1,800 right now, probably be double that by the end of the day. Requests are gonna come in like crazy. We'll have to be so business savvy, I might need to create an 8, I'd handle it. Izuku's eyes widened as if distraught. Please, do not do that. He pleaded casually. Yeah, I know, it's just a thought. You can never fully trust an AI. First you want it to be capable and efficient, and before you realize it acquires sentience and you're past the point of no return. Grandpa went down that rabbit hole years ago. Turned his house into an 8, that almost killed the entire family and some important political figures. He chuckled a little at the story. He avoided jail time, but Japan has laws governing the existence of AIs because of him. You Fujis are so extra sometimes. Suck it, Midoriya. He jokingly shot back. The two friends had a laugh as they made their way to class, no one really paying them any attention. Anyway, I did a little more digging into Ishiki Ishikawa, the guy who became Nomu, and it turns out he was last seen in Kashyyyk when the cops lost him. Lastly, I hear there's a whole lot of underground shit that goes on in that city. It's out of our way, but if you're interested we can go out there and look around. We got a 3-day weekend coming up, so we can just get a hotel, keep it a low-key investigation. Let's do that then. If it will get us closer to finding the mad scientist behind Nomu, I'm all for it. Looks like we're going undercover. And I've been waiting for a moment like this. Taku exclaimed, clearly excited. Hey Izu, ever heard of something called the Underground Masquerade? I remember so jerks back in middle school talking about that. It was when we first started out, so I looked into it, and as far as I know it's a moving underground fight club. I was able to find some police records mentioning it. It's an anything-goes fight club suspected of being a cover for some shady operations, as people who participate tend to go missing. It's possible Ishikawa could have been kidnapped while participating. Izuku surmised. It's possible, the problem is only certain circles of people would know where it is. After all, it moves around. The last time it was busted was in Osaka 10 years ago. Well, we know it's still a thing. Let's keep looking out and investigating. When do we not? He exclaimed jokingly. The school day came and went with Izuku and Taku getting in position to do work. Izuku turned into one and went into the city while Taku became Intech and went to the lab. One stands on the roof of a building, letting the users know he's now on patrol and ready for requests. Looking down he can see a handful of heroes also on patrol, but he ignores them like always. Somehow he has apparently become Death Arm's mortal enemy, as there is zero civility with him. He only wants to capture him. While he was waiting for a request he decided to handle something. A small warehouse was holding black market goods. He just needed to take down any and all guards and he was good. Hey one! He hears someone call out to him. He looked down and was surprised to see Mirko looking at him with a fiery smile. He jumps down to converse with the heroine. He kept his hero voice, but that didn't stop his hero fanboy from slipping out. Hello Mirko, I'm glad I get to meet you. I'm a really big fan. How can I help you? He smiled as he asked her. The woman continued to smile at him as she pointed a finger at him. I challenge you to a fight one. This declaration got the attention of all civilians within earshot. One was a little thrown off by this as he was expecting her to try and arrest him. One of the skills he's picked up from Keizo is a fine-tuned ability to read people, and he could tell she had no interest in that. It seems you're adequate with martial arts etiquette. I can tell you don't want to arrest me, but before I respond, why? Her fiery smile still on her face. Because I want to know if all the rumors I hear about you are true, plus you saved me. If I don't get a crack at sending you flying I'll never get over it. She answered. She also had a theory about him which by fighting him would certainly confirm. One merely smiled as he registered her words before thinking to himself. The rabbit hero, Mirko wants to fight me. Sure, this is about her pride, but it's about more than that. I can tell she has no interest in arresting me. Maybe we can be friends. That doesn't mean I can let her win though. He finished thinking and he came to a decision. I accept your challenge, but we're both on patrol at the moment so this will have to be quick. That's fine, so where should we do this? He pointed to his 10 o'clock. There's a vacant lot 8 blocks that way, plenty of space. People may see but we won't damage any property. At least I won't. Lead the way then. With a combination of leaps and parkour they made it to the lot in less than a minute. It was a wide rectangular lot with low grass and concrete walls on 3 corners with the sidewalk passing by it. Mirko looked around, comfortable with this location as it was in between abandoned buildings, so no chance of collateral damage. This'll work, now let's do this. They both went to the ends opposite each other. Mirko looked fired up while one took a deep breath before getting into his stance. I'm ready when you are. Mirko wasted no time as she rushed him. She threw a blurring flurry of kicks that one easily dodged. Mirko continues to kick, chasing him as the two become blurs that move across the lot. One stops the chase and stands his ground as he dodges another flurry of kicks. He shifts forward blocking a kick with his right forearms and decks her in the forehead with his left fist. The blow sends her flipping back and skidding as she gains her balance. One thrusts his right elbow into her stomach, knocking the air out of her and she drops on all fours. Mirko lays crouched on the ground. Cough cough. He can dodge my kicks like it's nothing. Who is this guy? She thought as she pushed past the immense pain and stood up. Jumping at one she throws a right spin kick to his left side. He brings up his left arm, easily blocking her kick, the force cracking the ground beneath him. Still airborne the rabbit woman pelts him with a barrage of kicks that he easily blocks. She is stunned suddenly when for a moment her kicks pass through him. She instinctively crosses her arms over her face, successfully blocking the axe kick that was about to come down on her, the force of it making her crash to the ground, cracking it and causing a loud crash making the ground shake. Her arms were still shaking in pain as she flipped herself back to her feet. Turning behind her she could see her opponent, still rearing to go. Damn, that really hurt. He tricked me with a fucking speed clone and I didn't even see him jump. He's a smart one. She thought. Her arms are pretty much useless for the rest of this fight. She doesn't really use them in combat anyway other than blocking. I can't do this all day so. Pushing past the pain Mirko comes back again throwing a flurry of kicks with one returning some of his own. The two clash with blurring kicks and it's clear that one's are far stronger and faster with some of his connecting. After countering one of Mirko's kicks he quickly connects a hook kick to the right side of her head. He swings back and spins, kicking her left side and in that same motion connects a chop to the left side of her neck before following through on a punch to the face that sends her to the ground. She's hurt but finds the strength to stand back up. He's as good as I expected, and oh he's way more than that. Plus it looks like my hunch was right, still I ain't backing down. She was brought out of her thoughts when one was in her face in a flash. He slams his right elbow into her stomach then flicks his arm slamming a back fist into her face and finishing her with a palm strike to the chin that sends her crashing into the concrete wall behind her cracking it. She lands on her feet leaned up against the wall as one cocks back his right fist and fires 3 shockwaves of punched air. Air bullet. The attacks move faster than the blink of an eye hitting her forehead, stomach and right knee, knocking her out and making her drop to the ground. One smiles, not out of arrogance but because he was happy he was able to fight a sibling student. He was sure of it now, they could be friends. He picked up the unconscious rabbit woman and sat her against the wall while he sat beside her until she woke up. After about 4 minutes she woke up. Welcome back Sleeping Beauty. He joked at her. Shut up. She replied annoyed as she got to her feet and dusted herself off. You okay? He genuinely asked. She was massaging her chin as she responded. Yeah, I'm good. She continued to massage her head as she gathered her thoughts. You've got some good moves one. Thank you, yours are pretty good as well. Thanks for the other day by the way. Since then I've been doing serious training whenever I'm not working and I needed to gauge how strong you were, because if I got saved by someone much weaker than me I'd never live it down. It was nothing, just being a hero. You really are, aren't you? She paused for a moment before continuing. So you were a disciple of Rising Sky too, huh? The hero was completely shocked that she would suddenly throw this out, then he realized he had given himself away in a sense from fighting her. Excuse me? He replied trying to play dumb. Don't play dumb. I may not know who you are, but I do know that you're a disciple of the dojo where I was trained. You seem competent, so I shouldn't have to spell it out for you. It's your kicks. They're the same as mine and anyone else that trained at the dojo," she stated bluntly, one's eyes widened behind his cowl. She's right, I knew this could happen. At Rising Sky, fighting is an art form. Throwing a punch, kick, knee or elbow, there's a very distinct way of doing these that Keizo and Michiko make sure every student perfects. It's so distinguishable that any student who fully completed their training would easily recognize it regardless of fighting style, he thought. Mirko noticed his shift change and gave him a mischievous grin. "So are you gonna tell me who you are, or do I have to figure it out?" He regained his composure and gave her a confident smile. "You know I can't do that. Good luck with unmasking me though. You sure know how to keep things entertaining. Come on, walk and talk." The two heroes left the lot and were walking down the street. They continued talking while staying alert for any action. They talked about some of their best cases, why they wanted to be heroes. One even offered to help her train if she wanted, which she agreed to. The two heroes make their way to a stand and get some bottled waters. Handing her one, he continues their conversation. "Is it true you used to frequent underground fight clubs in high school?" "Haha, I'm not surprised you heard about that. Man, those were some wild times for me. Being Rising Sky's #1 problem child, good times." She laughed in nostalgia. "Master said once that she neutered your battle-hungry nature, but by that point it was too late to kill what she had created." He joked, smiling at her. "Well, it's true. I wasn't like that when I first got there though. Actually, I was pretty timid. I think I was 8, I saw these kids bullying another kid. I wanted to help, but I was too scared to do anything. It bothered me all day. I was in a park by myself sitting on a swing and it was getting late, and then this woman walked up to me telling me to head home. But seeing how down I was, she asked what was wrong, and that's when the tears came down. After I told her the story, she smiled at me and called me brave because of my desire to help someone else despite being scared. She said I had the heart of a hero and offered to train me. That's how I met Michiko Tabihara for the first time." She smiled fondly at the memory. "I was kinda the same. I wanted to be a hero. I wanted to help and save people with a smile just like All Might. But it was gonna be really, really hard for me. My mom took me to meet with them and Michiko was the first I spoke to. I begged her to give me a chance and I wouldn't let her down. I'll never forget what she said to me. She said being that kind of hero definitely seems impossible, that is unless you trained at their dojo. Though my road got a little bumpy, I still ended up where I wanted to be." Mirko looked at the green-clad vigilante beside her, many thoughts going through her head. This guy is definitely interesting. "Hey Mirko, are you going to watch the UA Sports Festival? It starts tomorrow, you know." "I'll watch, but I'm not really interested in scouting anyone. But Michiko's been badgering me to take on a girl she trained who's apparently going to be in it. Her name's Momo Yaoyorozu if I'm right." "Well, since you're sibling students you should at least look and see what she's got. Come to think of it, I think I met her at the USJ, she seemed like she had potential." "Speaking of your days in underground fighting, have you ever heard of the underground masquerade?" Her eyes widened with an excited look on her face. "That? Hell yeah. It's crazy because I only did that once and I found it by complete accident." One suddenly became more attentive, determined to get as much info on it as he can. "You were in it?" "Yeah, back in those days I had a sixth sense for when a fight was going down and once I felt it I was heading over. Tiger Bunny came in to kick some ass." "Tiger Bunny? My street fighting alter ego, duh." But it wasn't much of a secret, everyone knew the local schoolgirl who crashed fight clubs. She shrugged, smiling. "I want to investigate it. Do you know anything like where and how it moves around?" "Not a clue. Like I said, I followed my senses to find it last time and I didn't even know it was called that until after the fact." One sighed at this. "Was there anyone shady or suspicious, in a place like that, someone who just stood out compared to everyone else?" Mirko closed her eyes as she tried to remember back a decade, then one face came to her. "There was this guy in a hood. I don't know who he is or where he came from, some chaos broke out and gas started to fill the place. I had to team up with 2 other guys and he tried to stop us from getting out." "You remember what he looked like?" "Yeah, he had black skin and so was his face, his eyes were yellow and it threw me off at the time, but he seemed to have 2 quirks." This made one's eyes widen. You sure? He could stretch, grow and regenerate his limbs. I could be wrong, but that sounds like multiple quirks to me. What happened to him? Don't know. We fought him, but he was strong, so I made it outside and found a detective who called All Might. I got back in the fight and we were able to push him back, but when All Might arrived, a black portal opened up and he was gone. A black portal, he thought. His thoughts then immediately went back to the USJ. So whoever the leader of the League of Villains is has been in business for a while. This hooded guy could have been the very first Nomu. But her story just raises even more questions. He looked back at the rabbit woman. Thank you, Mirko. The two went quiet for a while as they kept an eye out for action. How about we team up on a case? The rabbit woman looked at him with a mix of shock and confusion. Before you reject, I know you don't do teams, but hear me out. I recently discovered a warehouse holding black market goods. Wanna help me take it down? She smirked. Legally speaking, I need probable cause to bust up a place like that. Get me that and I'm in. He pulled out his hero phone and showed her a photo of a pudgy man with an eye patch over his right eye, black hair with a small ponytail. This is Takuma Kokuri. He's more or less an underground merchant. He's one of many in an underground network of traders. Weapons, support items, drugs, counterfeit money, even costumes for villains, he's got it. Been investigating him for a few months now and was able to connect this other guy back to him who moves merchandise from one of his smaller warehouses. We catch them moving and loading goods. I sneak in, get evidence and signal you when to strike. Her fiery smile lit up. Let's do this. The sun was going down and they were in position. With an earpiece and Intech on the line, Mirko was laying low on the roof of the building directly across the street from the warehouse. There was a large fence around the lot with a gate as the only way in. She could see over a dozen guys standing near delivery trucks, going in and out of the warehouse or standing in the lot talking amongst themselves. The way they were all dressed in dark clothes was definitely suspicious. One was on the roof of the warehouse completely out of sight. Once trucks of new goods arrived, they would make their move. After another 10 minutes of waiting, 3 delivery trucks pulled into the lot. Showtime, he said as he pulled a cartridge from one of the pockets on his belt containing 5 small fly-shaped robots. He pulled out 2 and they began to fly from his hand in the direction of the lot. Spy flies are ready. 1. I'll set Mirko's earpiece to hear everything these 2 pick up and I'll signal her when you're ready. Thanks, Intech. Make sure to capture photos with these other 3. I got you. Using his phase 1 technique, 1 phase through the roof of the warehouse and lands in the rafters. All around he can see the building is full of crates and pallets of black market goods. Looking down he can see roughly 10 guys in black moving stuff in and out of the warehouse. No one has noticed him yet as he releases his last 3 spy flies. These are little robots Intech made that are basically tiny cameras and trackers. They record what they see and hear with perfect resolution and audio. They can take photos of things as well as map out a trail of unfamiliar areas. Their feedback is sent to Intech and his hero phone. After 5 minutes he got a call from Intech. Yo one, Mirko said she's heard all she needs to, you can go right now. The spy flies have all the photos and audio you need too. Alright, tell her to go now if she wants. I'll handle the guards in here, then find a computer. Roger that. All the guys in the building got stirred up when they heard a loud crash from outside. They all rushed to the exit when 3 were suddenly knocked out after being struck by air bullets. The other 7 turned around to see who the attacker was, only to see a green blur drop to the ground and a strong gust of wind send them into the air. Seeing the guards trying to get outside, 1 quickly fires 3 air bullets, hitting 3 in the back and knocking them out. Before the others even knew what was going on, he had already jumped from the rafters and rapidly spun into a ball before doing a 0-degree axe kick, creating a vacuum that brought them all into the air. In a flash of speed the hero one-shots all the guards. He lands from his assault and walks to find a computer as the sound of their unconscious bodies hitting the ground rings throughout the building. He could also hear the sound of crashes and guys screaming. Sounds like Mirko's doing just fine. Now for that computer. 10 minutes later he was flying across the city with Skywalk. Mirko was talking to the police. The guards were being rounded up and the stuff was being confiscated. He was able to get some more evidence from the computer he found and put it on a goober that he gave Mirko. Naturally he couldn't stay for the cleanup, but he and the rabbit hero had some good words before he had to go. The police are on their way, you should probably take off. Here's your earpiece back. She gave it back to him. Thanks. Before I do, here you go. He hands her the goober. I found a computer in there and was able to get records and files on another warehouse and supply lines. I was also able to get the plates and drivers of some of the trucks they use. The rabbit hero was amazed by this level of work. Working on a level outside of fighting and rescue eludes her. He's not only able to fight, he can also work on a technical and investigative level. He can literally do it all. Most heroes are usually in a bubble and stay in it, but he works in every field. Good work, one. I can send you the info gathered by the spy files. Just give me your info and Intech will take care of it. After getting her info, he could hear sirens in the distance. One leaped away after saying goodbye. The rabbit hero couldn't help but smile at him as he flew away into the city. One, you are definitely an interesting guy. Can't believe I got to team up with Mirko. That was awesome. Now that I think about it, that's my first team up ever. He thought to himself. Who knows, maybe we can do it again. Intech suddenly spoke into his cowl. I gotta team up with Mirko, she was so hot and awesome. I definitely want to do that again. The sidekick mocked playfully. Is exactly what you were thinking, right? This slightly annoyed the hero. Get out of my head. But what do you think of our first team up? That went way better than I expected. She was really surprised to learn that you have a sidekick. Still, I don't think she'll tell anyone. This could be good. I really hope so. I like Mirko, she's a good hero. Where are we on the app? You've actually got a handful of requests at the moment. Try getting on that so people know that this is definitely real. Okay, will do. Talk to you later. Call ends. He's still flying and about to pull out his phone when he looks ahead and sees a figure flying about 100 yards in front of him. It became clear who this was from the giant red wings flapping. Hawks, he said in a confused tone. Suddenly, as if he heard him, the winged man turns around and starts flying towards the vigilante, and after a couple seconds the two were face to face. He stopped skywalking and floated while using his leg strength to stay airborne as they looked at each other. Well, if it isn't one. I've been looking to talk to you for a while. He was surprised to hear these words. You wanted to speak to me? About what? I'll get to that in a minute, but how are you flying? More specifically, how are you not falling? He asked with a smile and a seemingly excited tone. I have my ways. He responded with a smile. Okay. Come on, fly and talk. He said before flapping his wings and flying to his right. One jumped off the air and followed. They flew across the city for over a minute with Hawks seemingly testing one's ability to fly, with one easily able to keep up with him in both speed and maneuverability. After a while he decided to find out what he wanted to talk about. So what's this about? Surely you didn't want to meet me just so we could fly around? The two landed on the roof of a building as the hero answered. Let's be friends. Hawks said casually as he smiled at him. As in a let's hang out and get some food kind of way? He jokingly replied. More as all heroes don't hate you kind of way. Okay. He smiled as he proceeded to shake the hero's hand. He suddenly felt a tiny shift on the back of his belt. Though he knew exactly what it was, he continued to shake Hawk's hand with a smile. Later, one. Keep up the good work. He was about to fly away when one grabbed the collar of his shirt. Hold up, Hawks, I think you forgot this. He said, smiling at the hero as he reached behind him and pulled a small feather that was slid between his belt. Keep it as a memento. He smiled as he tried to play off what he just tried to do. One continued to smile. I was born at night, but not last night. If you want to spy on me, you're gonna have to do better than that. Hawks looked surprised at this. What do you mean? It probably just fell on you as we were flying. Relax a little, man. Oh, I'm very relaxed. We're friends now, right? So I'll tell you. I'm a huge hero fan and a bit of a nerd for quirks. Long story short, that means I have intricately studied yours. Your quirk gives you strong feathers and you have full control over every single one. You can fly, use some as swords, and just one is more than strong enough to lift and carry a person. However, you're able to get to scenes and stop incidents quickly, save and rescue people you can't even see. Why is that? Because these feathers have strong sensory abilities, don't they? The number 3 hero eyes narrowed a little and put up a smile at this breakdown of his quirk. This is something not on public record. As far as the public knows, his feathers are just strong and he can control them. He was amazed and a little mad that one figured it out. He has feathers positioned all over his city and he's able to hear and feel everything that they pick up. That's how he's able to stop crimes and catch others so fast. I'm taking that silence and meaning I'm right. He looked at the feather for a moment. Your quirk's even cooler than I thought, so let's try this again. Anything you want to ask me, go right ahead. Just keep it civil. Wow. No disrespect, but you really are a quirk nerd, aren't you? He smiled, laughing a little to himself. One smiled back. So I've been told. Hawks put a hand to his head with an embarrassed smile. Man, this is embarrassing. Still, I figured I'd take a shot at unmasking you. You really interest me. You're on the radar of a lot of powerful and influential people in this industry. Back when the city was attacked, I know you beat the blue villain Not All Might, also stopping the attack at UA and most recently uncovering the biggest trigger operation to date. I'm not jealous, I'm impressed more than anything. To be perfectly honest with you, I don't really care about the vigilante thing. You're good, really good, better than most pros actually, but the powers that be want you unmasked, so I took a crack at spying on you. But you found me out. Well, you're not the first to spy on me, nor will you be the last. I'm accustomed to it by now. Still, I want to know. You're clearly strong. Why are you a vigilante? Hell, with the right connections you could go pro the first chance you got. Sorry, but those reasons are my own. All I can say is that I'm living my dream. Nothing wrong with that, but how you chose to live it, I doubt it's paying your bills. I have a life and career goals outside of this. It's very important to me, so it'll always be a priority. Plus, I'm not a big fan of heroes getting paid, and I kinda think the ranking system should be abolished. Hawks raised an eyebrow at this. Really, how come? With the term hero having become a largely profitable industry, I think that can lead many who pursue it to get in for the wrong reason. I like to think I do this for no other reason than for one. It's always what I wanted to be. 2. Because with all the strength and skills I have obtained, I should use it to help others and make the world as better a place as I can. And 3. Because it's the right thing to do. I'm a firm believer that a hero is someone who does the right thing because it's right regardless of what you'll gain. Some people want money, attention, praise, fame. I don't care about any of that. I will never do this for praise or reward. I'll keep doing what I do 'cause I'm a hero. He finished, giving the hero a bright smile. I like you. You're pretty cool, you know that. Was that sarcasm? Nope. One chuckled a little as Hawks looked to speak again. I feel kinda the same way you do. Popularity and approval ratings make up an important factor in the rankings when that's got nothing to do with being capable and effective against villains. My goal is to make this a world where heroes have too much time on their hands. He spoke with genuine truth. Well, that collectively should be the long-term goal. If we have nothing to do, then it means everything is peaceful. That picture looks good to me. The two had a mutual understanding before one got a notification for his hero app letting him know he just got a request. He saw that he had over a dozen different requests that have built up since he went on patrol up until now. The sun had gone down and it was dark. He started with the request at the top that said husband in danger. Clicking on it, the location of the user came up showing that they were a few blocks away. Alright, I'm off, Hawks. I got a request on the app. Mind if I tag along? Sure. Other pros may look at you a certain way if you're seen with me, and the public may think it's weird. Let them think what they want. Plus, you can just call it me legitimizing your work. You mean piggybacking? He jokingly stated. Hawks closed his eyes and shrugged with a sly smile. Call it what you will. For the next couple hours, Hawks tagged along with one as he knocked out every request that came through on the app and other incidents. The first was a woman asking for help with her husband who was in some kind of danger. They learned he was being blackmailed into helping an old friend and his associates rob the casino where he worked security. After some spying, they stopped the plan before it even began. They moved on to catching some carjackers, stopping a drug deal, foiling an attempted rape and in mugging. They resolved a kidnapping, saving the person bound up in the trunk of a car. One even saved a family from a fire and used a thunderclap to put it out. The two heroes were having a good back and forth with them, even competing over who could stop a crime first, with by the end of the score was 12-4 one's way. When they would resolve a case, one would get some distance from the scene while Hawks handled the police. He would outright tell them when it was one who resolved the incident, taking credit only when he himself did. People even walked up to them asking for selfies when they were walking on the street and would immediately upload them to the community page in the app. He was certain this was going to cause a stir tomorrow once the public and other heroes knew about this. He didn't mind too much though. After the past couple of hours he wouldn't mind being friends with Hawks. Kamui Woods tried to call them out when he saw them flying across the city, but they pretended not to hear him. It was almost 10 o'clock and the two heroes were standing on a water tower overlooking the city. Hey Hawks, are you going to be watching the sports festival? You know it's tomorrow. Yeah, I'll check it out. I want to talk to a member of Class 1A and try to get some info on the League of Villains. Speaking of, do you know anything about them I should know? Their goal at the moment seems to be to kill All Might. They have someone who can inject the quirks of others into someone else and scientifically modify them. I'm looking into uncovering that right now. Also, I'm not entirely sure of their relationship or her allegiance, but they have a powerful woman named Taki Tachibana on their side. He responded. Hawk's eyes widened slightly at these words. Taki Tachibana, you're sure? He sounded a little stressed. Yes, I'm sure. Why does she bother you? Something I should know? Keeping his composure. It's nothing. Anyway, I'm gonna call it a night, later one. He said before flying off. One watched the number 3 hero fly away, officially suspicious of the past half-minute. Yeah, there's definitely some history between Hawks and Tachibana-senpai. The question is, what is it? He was about to head home, but as he looked down he could see a boy his age sitting on a bench looking really upset. He was the same heterochromatic-haired boy he saw at the USJ, and remembering what Momo told him his name was Todoroki, he jumps from the water tower and flips off a building before landing 10 feet to the left of the sitting boy. He jumped a little at the sudden arrival of the hero. 1. Hey, I was about to end my patrol, but I saw you from the water tower and you looked upset. If you want to talk, I'll listen. He said, being truly genuine. Todoroki was surprised. He just got into a fight with his bastard father about the sports festival tomorrow and he needed to get out of the house. He's been worse than usual, especially since he was hurt in the USJ attack. He claimed that if he used his fire he would have been just fine. According to his Class 1 had saved him when the Nomu monster was about to kill him and he never got the chance to thank him. Now he was standing in front of him asking about his problems. His father hated him. He's taken a lot of work from him the past few months, and whenever he tried to arrest him one either escaped or easily beat him. Talking about something like this to a stranger felt a little weird, but it was someone his father hated, who was stronger than him, and despite being illegal was a better and more likable hero than him. Hey one, I'm Shoto Todoroki. Do you have a minute? Sure. He answered as he sat down. First off, thanks for what you did at the USJ. I really appreciate it. Don't mention it. Kaminari radioed for help and I'm just glad I made it in time. Todoroki went quiet for a moment, thinking to himself before he spoke again. 1. Can I ask you a question? Sure, shoot. I've seen videos of you fighting. There are a lot of rumors online about you. Since you're right in front of me, tell me, seriously, are you All Might's secret love child or something? His eyes widened behind his cowl. He wasn't expecting him to ask him that question, but he wasn't surprised that someone asked that. That's been a rumor about him for months now since his first exchange with All Might. Given his power and his interactions with the man, many people think that, which he always denies when asked. No, I am not related to All Might in any way, shape or fashion. I have a father that I strongly take after. Well, the power you eschewed is definitely the same. Anyway, I had to get out of the house. I couldn't deal with my bastard father. The coldness of his words made one fully zone into the conversation. My father's the flame hero, Endeavor, you must have heard of him? Yeah, he really doesn't like me. As far as I'm concerned, keep doing what you're doing. So what did he do that has you so upset? He took a breath as he collected his thoughts. Have you ever heard of quirk marriages? This made the hero cringe at the question. He was never a huge fan of Endeavor, but in that moment his opinion of him was significantly lowered. Yes, I have. Personally, I find the concept of that sickening. Forcing someone to marry just to make a child with a powerful quirk is many kinds of immoral because it takes love out of the equation. Not only that, genetics are a tricky thing. Getting the child you want may never happen, or even worse, you go through child after child until you get the one you want, which will only lead to neglect, abuse and abandonment towards all but the trophy child. Todoroki looked at him amazed at his perception. You're very perceptive. That's exactly what happened to my family. My father paid my mother's parents to get his hands on her ice quirk. My quirk, half hot half cold, is a dual emitter type that's a perfect blend of theirs. It took them 3 tries before they got the quirk my father wanted, fire and ice. Am I right to assume that the entire point of the marriage was to have a child whose quirk would eliminate the drawbacks of his own? He asked, becoming more and more frustrated with the flame hero. Exactly. To understand this situation, you have to understand Todoroki. He wanted to be recognized as the strongest, and to be the #1 hero. Even after blitzing through the ranks and becoming the #2 hero when he was only 20, he knew that he could never surpass All Might. So he planned to siphon a child who could. His anger and obsession led to him abusing all of us. It took a toll on my family, especially my mother. When I think of her, all I can remember is her crying, just before she threw boiling water on my face. This made one cringe. It was all his fault, everything is his fault. He put her in a mental hospital after that, and is raising me to usurp All Might, but I refuse to be a pawn for that scumbag. When I'm in battle I never use my left side, I never use his power. I'll win the sports festival and become the top hero using only my mom's power. One had taken in everything the other boy had said to him and he could truly empathize with him. He knew Endeavor was a rough, intimidating person, but to think that someone who calls themselves a hero would go this far and do something this disgusting just for something as pointless as being called the strongest. He was sickened, disgusted and enraged at the #2 hero and would let his thoughts be known on this the next time they meet. When he first saw him, Todoroki looked like someone who needed help and he was going to do it. Todoroki, I empathize with your situation. But do you want to be a hero? I know why he wants you to be a hero, but do you genuinely want to be a hero? Shoto was shocked by this as he looked down and tried to collect his thoughts. Yes, why? And it can't be something as petty as you want to renounce your father. That's got nothing to do with saving people or being a hero. You said you'll only use your mom's power, but what if someone loses their life because you didn't use your flames? The heterochromatic teen looked down. And it's not Endeavor's power or your mother's, it's yours. It's your quirk and only you can decide how it'll be used, and if you decide to be a hero and help people then you have to be willing to use all of it. Be the hero you want to be for your own reasons, not his. Shoto looked at the green-clad vigilante, his eyes widened as he suddenly remembered a memory he had with his mother. They were sitting on the couch watching an interview of All Might where he said some of the same words one just said. He then remembered his mother's words after she comforted him after his father's abusive training. Shoto, you still want to be a hero, don't you? It's okay, you can use your power to be who you want to be. A tear suddenly ran down his face after remembering the memory. One saw this and grew a bit concerned. You okay, Todoroki? The other boy whipped his face as he had a smile on his face. Yeah, I'm fine, you're right. I want it, I want to be a hero, he said with passion as he looked at his right hand, coating it with fire before making a fist and putting it out. He then stood up to leave. Thank you, One, you've given me a lot to think about. One smiled at the boy. Happy to help, I wish you well, Todoroki. And good luck in the sports festival, I'll be watching. Todoroki nodded before walking away. That guy will be okay, but seriously, what the hell, Endeavor? Issue to address later, let's get home. Isuku awoke the next morning. It was Friday and the day of the sports festival. He had no classes today, giving him a 3-day weekend, and he was going to use it to handle business. The hero killer struck again last night, as they predicted in Hosu. He killed one of the sidekicks of Ingenium. After a quick study of their patrol routes last night, he was pretty sure he knew where he would be. Also, he was certain Ingenium would certainly want to avenge one of his sidekicks. He was going to head to UA and give Momo his support before heading to Hosu. He was a little nervous as he was going to do something drastic that he hoped wouldn't distract her too much. After doing his morning routine, he ate breakfast and got dressed, putting on a white tee, blue shorts and his red shoes. He headed over to UA where they were holding the sports festival. The entire time he was thinking of what he'll say to Momo when he sees her. Just wish her luck, Isuku, and make a point to celebrate with her later tonight. He made it to the stadium and outside he could see food stalls and many heroes present. He saw Mount Lady, Air Jet, Mirko, Kamui Woods, Ms. Joke, Fat Gum and even Endeavor. He was here, he may as well meet and get photos with some of the heroes. He had time after all. He got a selfie and some sexy pics of Mount Lady, had some good laughs with Ms. Joke, shared a bite of takoyaki with Fat Gum, and he even spoke to Mirko and got a picture with her. After he had his fun, we went into the corridor under the stadium to look for Momo. He had told her he was there and would come to meet him. He was nervous as his lady friend would meet him soon, the advice he'd gotten from Michiko a few days ago not helping his nerves. Rising Sky 2 days ago, Izuku, Taku, Kyuki and Saki were having a study group at the dojo. They had a test the next day and Kyuki wasn't doing so hot in this subject, so they are all studying in her room. Izuku and Taku were both at the top of the class in just about every subject, plus she's their friend so she didn't mind helping her out. After they had finished they started talking about various things when Izuku wanted to ask the girls something. "Hey girls, can I ask you two something?" "Sure, what's up Izuku?" Kyuki responded. "What is it Midoriya?" Saki responded. "I want to take things to the next step with Momo. How do I go about that without making it weird?" "Yaoyorozu, so you're finally doing that." "Hell, when I first met her I knew you liked her," Kyuki stated. Saki was blushing a little as she noticed a presence. "I don't think I'm the best to give advice here. Just tell her how you feel bro." "I agree with Taku, just get a moment alone and tell her." Most women prefer the direct approach, and if she likes you back it won't be an issue. The door suddenly opened to reveal Michiko. "You children just love to disappoint me, don't you?" she said in a playful tone. "What do you mean, Auntie?" Kyuki asked. "I mean this isn't something as simple as just telling a girl you like her, this is a girl who is always thinking from an intellectual standpoint. Things like feelings are no different. I'm not saying Izuku just telling her won't work, but I know a way that will make things more effective." "And that way would be?" Izuku asked. The master gave a sly smirk. "Kiss her, Nanny, not on the lips, boy. Just do and say this." End flashback. Izuku lets out a deep breath as Momo comes into view. "Hey Momo." He smiled and raised a hand at her. "Hello Izuku, I'm glad you came to see the festival. Normally I would love to stay and watch the show. But I just came to wish you luck." "You're not staying?" "Unfortunately no. I wanted to wish you luck before heading to Hosu. Trust and believe I will be watching and rooting for you." "I appreciate it." "You said you're heading to Hosu, I assume it's to look for him." "Yes, plus I suspect Ingenuine will go after him too. So I've got to save him by getting to him first." "Be careful Izuku." "I will." "Good luck, I'll definitely be rooting for you. I hope you take home the gold and impress every pro watching." She pumped her fists as she smiled at him. "I'll do my best." "You'll do great," he said before leaning in and planted a kiss on her left cheek. The girl was so surprised she couldn't respond as he pulled away and looked back at her with a cool look and a charming smile. "That was for luck. We'll celebrate later, now go put on a great show," he said before turning and walking away, leaving the creation girl with butterflies and a major blush as she touched her left cheek. She turned to walk back to her class determined to impress the pros and the boys she liked. Izuku had made it off UA's campus, several thoughts going through his head. "I did it, I actually did it. I really hope that doesn't distract her too much. Should I have waited after the festival? Issue for later, the issue right now is finding Stain before Ingenuine does." Time to head to Hosu. Chapter 14 What is a hero? It's a sunny day in the city of Hosu, people are walking the streets, cars are going from point A to point B. However, in the shadows of this usually peaceful city the hero killer, Stain stalks the shadows. He had culled his 17th false hero last night and his work in the city was far from done. He was intentionally hiding in the shadows along the specific patrol route of the turbo hero, Ingenium. It was one of his sidekicks that he killed, and if he was the fake he expected him to be he would surely come for him in revenge. The false heroes that infest society and everything they stand for have become a stain on the concept of the word hero. And he was going to eliminate them. Izuku looked for a place to get into costume after making it off of U.A's campus. He found a secluded spot and got into his costume like normal, but as he jumped on the roof of a building it didn't feel right. Inspecting himself he saw that he was wearing a different costume. His cowl felt the same. His gloves were different with the backhand being black and the palm being red. The backhand had a big red dot and smaller ones on his base knuckles. His shirt was skin-tight as usual but short-sleeved with the same design and green as his normal one. His pants were the same green but baggy and tucked into his shoes, which looked like his trademark red ones designed as mid-calf combat boots. His utility belt was red as usual but had from what he could feel were 9 pockets. Pulling out his hero phone and going to the camera he got a good look at what he looked like and it was pretty good. Still, this random change of look should have been at least mentioned by his sidekick, whom he finally decided to call. Intech, the hell am I wearing? Ha ha. I've been watching you feel yourself waiting for you to call. He kept laughing at his friend for a moment before answering him. To answer your question, this is your beta costume. I've actually had this ready for months, but I had to add upgrades and gear to your alpha costume that I needed to incorporate to this one before you actually put it on. This is just as durable as your alpha costume, just with a different design. I kept your cowl and shirt design the same, also the shirt stayed skin tight, but with short sleeves those muscles stand out even more. Your pants are baggy, but not overly so, and your shoes. P.S. Those are my favorite part of this new look. Takes the design of your trademark red shoes and turns them into strong and durable combat boots befitting a hero here to kick some ass. And possibly make you a trendsetter. Lastly, your utility belt. I kept the usual stuff with pockets for first aid equipment, spy flies, trackers, smoke bombs, fingerprint collectors, sample collectors. The only thing I added were EMP grenades because, name a reason? And the last two are for your phone and money. I'll admit it surprised me at first, but this suit is awesome, I have to admit. But say I want to wear my alpha suit, I can swap between the two, right? Of course, I added beta to the suit app on your watch. But I think you'll like this one better after a while. Alright? New suit, new leads, let's go stop a hero killer. He said before taking off in the direction of Hosa City. After a steady run at Mach 20 made it to Hosa City in about half a minute. He had plenty of time, so he watched the broadcast of the sports festival on his hero phone. So their first challenge is a 4 kilometers obstacle course race. Maybe I should have stayed to watch that. Momo's definitely going to kill this. He thought to himself. The camera was on all the students on the field as they got ready to begin. His attention was solely on Momo. When Midnight started the race, he was probably one of few people who saw her disappear as everyone else started running. After 9 seconds the signal rang out telling that someone had crossed the finish line, shocking everyone in the stadium. Many students were still fighting to make it out of the first obstacle, and standing past the finish line was Momo Yaoyorozu with a proud and confident smile. Isuku chuckled to himself as President Mike roared out. With a record of 9.3 seconds, the winner of the race is Momo Yaoyorozu from Class 1A. Isuku looked at his friend as she sat with Midnight waiting for the others to arrive, every pro in the stadium clearly impressed by that display of speed. 9 seconds on a 4K? Guess she didn't want to go all out at the start, she easily could have done that in 4, minimum. Every pro in the stands is surprised though. Way to start out strong, Momo. Standing on the roof of a building in Hosu, a woman wearing a gray short-sleeve shirt, camo skinny jeans and black boots watches the sports festival from her phone. Looks like Yaoyorozu's going to blitz through this festival, how cute. She puts her phone away and gets back to the matter at hand as she looks out to the city. Now where are you? Stain. Back with Isuku. He's headed over to where Stain was most likely going to strike. He looks out to the city as he does parkour on the rooftops. As he's going he can see several local heroes on patrol, most notably several of Ingenuum's sidekicks and the normal hero, Manuel. He makes it to the area and looks around. Sports festival. The 40 runners had finished and made it to the next event that turned out to be a cavalry battle. The place of each runner had a point total, with the first place spot receiving 10 million. It was a chance for those at the bottom to overthrow those at the top. Everyone had demonic red eyes as they looked at Momo, whose confident smile didn't falter with her expression saying, "Bring it." They were given 10 minutes to form their 4-person teams. Many in Class 1 were quick to try to join Bakugo or Todoroki, the former of whom needed reminding of their names and quirks. While Momo had no problem with working alone, she still wanted to team up with her classmates, but many were avoiding her because she was worth so much. Both Jiro and Ishido turned her down when she asked them to join her, but she didn't let it bother her as she prepared for the race. All the teams had been formed and it was time to begin. It was clear that most if not all of the teams would target her, but Momo had several plans to grasp victory. She unzipped her shirt and prepared herself as the timer counted down. Midnight counted down. 3, 2, 1 begin. The moment the words left her lips and the starting bell sounded as she predicted, many teams headed straight for her. Everything slowed down as she saw something causing the ground to shift. Something a boy with no lips from Class B was doing. In a flash she was behind his group taking their headband. Several teams sank into the ground where she previously stood. So as Quirk lets him soften what he touches, I should be wary of him and where I step. She thought as in a flash she had snatched Hagakure headband, then a redhead girl from Class B, then a blonde boy from Class B, then Shinso. She continued to speed blitz through her competition before finally snatching Bakugo's headband and appearing on the edge of the arena behind everyone else holding almost every headband. Momo looked at the headbands in her hands as she thought about the past few seconds. Mineta and Azui are using shoji as a tent so I couldn't get theirs, but this is fine. After a few moments the other teams were able to spot her, shock written all over their faces as they saw her holding their headbands. What was even more surprising was that no one saw her take them. What the hell? Bakugo roared. When did she? Todoroki exclaimed. How fast is this girl? Kendo thought. Of course Class 1 it would show off like this. Monoma angrily stated. Mineta clutched his headband after seeing what she did. Ooh, hiding under Shoji's arms was such a good idea. He exclaimed, relieved. Incredible. Momo Yaoyorozu of Class 1 has snatched most of the headbands like it was nothing. Eraserhead. What are your thoughts on this? She has a plan. The man dryly replied. Momo simply smiled at her competition as she showed them the headbands, putting her plan into action. She quickly made a sakabado from her stomach as they charged at her. For the next 10 minutes it became a very one-sided game of cat and mouse. Momo was in complete control as she perfectly avoided and defended herself against the other students. She made a point to hold on to all the headbands until the final 5 minutes of the challenge's Phase 1. She began Phase 2 by dropping random or specific headbands as she was running, dodging or fighting. This made everyone forget about catching her and start fighting for the headbands. After a while she had dropped all the headbands and just to be nice she dropped high-numbered ones near Shido and Jiro's teams. Momo leaned against the wall of the arena as she watched the others fight like hell for the last 5 minutes. You were able to execute that flawlessly, Momo. I'm sure if Isuku were in this he would have just kept the headbands until time was up. She smiled at the thought, knowing she was right. The event ended and President Mike spoke up. And that ends the cavalry battle. Our finalists are Team Yaoyorozu, Team Mineta, Team Bakugo and Team Todoroki. Since our first place team was an individual we'll need to add 4 more people to fill the bracket. So the 5th place team gets to move on. Team Tetsu, congratulations. Midnight said. Kendo, Tetsu, Hakanuki and Shiozaki cheered, thankful at getting to move on. And there you have it, we have all our slots filled. Now to see who you'll be facing. First round matchups. Momo Yaoyorozu vs Itsuka Kendo, Shoto Todoroki vs Hantashiro, Jozu Hananuki vs Tenya Ida, Mina Ishido vs Minoru Mineta, Fumikage Tokoyami vs Tsuyu Azui, Tetsu vs Ijiro Kirishima, Denki Kaminari vs Ibara Shiozaki, Katsuki Bakugo vs Mizo Shoji. Momo looked over at the redhead named Kendo, interested in her. So she'll be my first opponent. The girl then made eye contact with her and walked towards her. Hey Yaoyorozu, let's have a good match. She smiled at her as she extended a hand. Momo smiled back and shook the girl's hand. Of course, let's do our best. You've been dominating this whole festival from the start, you've definitely got all eyes on you. But I don't plan on losing, so I'm not gonna hold back. She exclaimed. If that's a challenge I humbly accept. Momo replied with a smile. Kendo smiled back at her before walking away. We'll be taking an intermission before moving on to the finals, so everyone competing should take this time to rest. For everyone else we have some fun side games for you. This made some upset about not moving on feel a little better as everyone left the field. Yo! Yamamoto. Ishido called out. Yes, what is Ishido? Seriously, thanks for the headband. We would have been all kinds of screwed without it. It's no problem. I gave one to Jiro's team too, but unfortunately it wasn't enough. Thanks for trying anyway though. The long earlobes girl stated as she approached the two. Unbeknownst to the girls, an angry Bakugo overheard their conversation. Screw you, Ponytail. You didn't help me. If I knew we could have gone solo I never would have teamed up with those freaking extras. What the hell is your problem? Ishido shot at him. We only got 2 headbands and the one she gave us was the whole reason we moved on. Be thankful and stop being a jerk, TCH. Like I said at the start, I'm gonna win and crush every single one of you extras. By the end of this there won't be any doubt who the best one is here. Listen up, Ponytail, I'm gonna kill you and that icy hot bastard. It doesn't matter what you do, it's only a matter of time. He then walked past the three girls, leaving a stunned Ishido and Jiro, while Momo was unfazed by him. With his back to her but still in earshot, she spoke. You are truly unpleasant, Bakugo. He turned around and glared at her. The hell you say? He said with venom. Izuku told me about your unpleasant personality before we even started school, so I expected you to be someone I wouldn't want to associate with, which you are, but my point is this is your last warning. Learn to say what you mean. I could kill you right now just for saying that to me. I haven't been going all out yet, but here's a frame of reference. One sword strike at my top speed is an instant kill, so start saying what you mean. She exclaimed with a look that sent chills down the boy's spine. He gave a final weak glare before walking away. As they saw the blonde walk away, both Ishido spoke up again. You look like you're extra motivated to win this. Is there something you're not telling us? Ishido asked with a sly grin. What do you mean? It's the sports festival. I just want to do my best. The pink girl's smirk didn't fade. Really? Because back in the waiting room you left because Midoriya wanted to see you before we started, and you came back with the biggest blush and all fired up. Momo went pink from her words. Sue, just what did Midoriya say to you? Or did he do something I want to know about? Momo tried to hide her blush, but she couldn't help but smile at the thoughts from earlier. Ishido noticed her shift and her love senses were going off. Did he give you a good luck kiss or something? Momo's eyes widened as she power walked towards the cafeteria. She could hear Ishido squealing behind her. I knew it. Hosu City, I know you're here staying, come on out. One thought to himself as he observed the city from the roof of a building. He had been in the city for a while and he hadn't seen hide nor hair of the hero killer. He had also stopped several crimes which took his attention from his original task, but he didn't complain. Hosu was a ward in Tokyo, which was usually peaceful because All Might's agency was in Tokyo. But with him being a teacher at the moment, he's not in the city as often as he normally is, so it's only natural crime in the wards would go up a bit. Maybe I should just tail Ingenium until Stain eventually strikes. He thought to himself as he received a call from Intech. Yo one, you may want to get to Tokyo. He said, sounding uneasy. For what? Plus I still haven't found the hero killer yet. There's a plane descending towards the city and the flight path shows it's not heading for the airport. Where's it headed? Not sure, but it shouldn't be descending on a path this far from the airport. Think it's been hijacked? It's possible, or a system malfunction. Look into it. The sidekick said before hanging up. With a sigh, one left Hosu and began skywalking to Tokyo. Intech, I'm going to need you to guide me. I don't know the city at all. No problem, just head east. At a corporate building, a man walks with his business associates after leaving a meeting with one of his partners. He's a handsome middle-aged man with well-kept spiky black hair that's turned down at a right angle. He has dark gray eyes and a prominent blade of hair that runs down the right side of his face. He talks with his associates, all of them pleased with the continued success and upcoming deals of the company. They had 2 more meetings today in the city and had some time, so they decided to take a break and relax in the office. The man sits next to a window overlooking Tokyo. That's 1 down, 2 to go. He thought as he observed the city. The sports festival should still be going on. She's sure to be doing well. Hopefully we'll have much to celebrate tonight. He takes a seat in a chair by the window as he pulls out his phone to check the state of the Udata Sports Festival. It was the final event for the first years and it looked like SHE was going to be fighting first. Back at the sports festival, Momo Yaoyorozu and Itsuka Kendo step into the arena ready to face each other. Alright ladies and gentlemen, now entering the arena, the one who's been dominating this entire festival, the great creator, the Flash of Slash, from Class 1A Momo Yaoyorozu. The crowd roared from Present Mike's introduction, and her opponent. This girl's got big fists, a big heart, and she's ready to snatch a big win. From Class 1B Itsuka Kendo, her applause wasn't as loud as Momo's, but it still got her fired up. The 2 girls readied themselves for battle. When midnight gave the signal to start, it was on. Momo drew her Sakabato as Kendo rushed her, enlarging her hands and throwing a volley of punches. Momo skillfully dodged them, but they were faster than she thought. So her quirk lets her grow her hands. I'm guessing this drastically increases their power as well. Let's see how much. Finishing her thought, she blitzes behind Kendo after dodging a punch. She stays in place long enough for the girl to notice and blindly throws a chop, but Momo backflips away to dodge. Damn, I never even came close to hitting her, she's too fast. I gotta make an opening somehow. Momo had figured out the rhythm of her fighting style, now she had several plans to win. She raises her sword behind her head, Spiral Phoenix. The spiral air slash flew at the girl fast, with her just barely able to bring up her arm to block. What the heck? Kendo thought as she struggled against the attack. She then noticed something in her right periphery. Momo in a flash slashes Kendo's right side, sending her flying and dispersing her attack. Kendo gets close to the boundary but is able to dig her hands into the floor and stop herself. She crouches over on all fours from pain. Man, my arms are numb and I think she just cracked my ribs. She's as tough as I thought. She thought as she strategized through the pain. She's faster than me. I can't get around that, but I should hit harder. If I can get her off balance just for a moment, I can nail her and win. Gathering all her strength for her last effort, she stood and jumped. She spun and contorted her body before putting all the momentum into her right fist and punching the ground. This caused the ring to crumble and shake while having the intended effect of throwing Momo off balance. Kendo took the chance to charge at her, but to her shock the black-haired girl faded with her fist hitting nothing. I don't have anything bad to say about that strategy. Looking around, Kendo could see that she was surrounded on all sides by afterimages of Momo. Before she could fully process her situation, the girl struck. Momo slashed her over a dozen times at multiple angles with incredible speed, her final attack sending the redhead out of bounds. Kendo is out of bounds. Yaoyorozu wins. Midnight exclaimed, back at the corporation. Yes! That's my girl. The man cheered to himself as his associates approached him. Mr. Yaoyorozu, it appears our next meeting has been moved up. We should head over now. One of his associates stated. That's fine. I'm wishing to head home early, so let's take care of this as soon as possible. He said with his back to the glass window. All around, people were working in their cubicles and offices taking care of business when one of Yaoyorozu's associates tensed up. What is that? He said, pointing out the window. Turning around and looking out the window, everything went in slow motion as from the plane just moments from crashing into the building. Yaoyorozu's gray eyes widen as his life flashes before his eyes. Meeting his wife in high school, graduating university and taking over the family business, getting married and the birth of his daughter. Hello Momo Yaoyorozu, aren't you the sweetest peach I've ever seen? He said, holding a newborn Momo. Seiya sits on the living room couch sipping some tea when a 5-year-old Momo walks in. Father! Look at what I made! She exclaimed, showing him the Russian nesting doll she created. You made that? Yes. The excited father scooped up his daughter and ran to find his wife. Honey. Momo got her quirk. She's a genius, I told you. You want to have Midoriya over for dinner? Yes, I would like to have him over. He trained with Tabihara-sensei as well. We're both aiming to get into U.A, and he's really nice. Momo said fast, trying to convince her father. The father thought about her request. She's falling for that boy and I doubt even she doesn't realize it yet. Why not? Midoriya seems like a good kid. Okay, he can come over. Momo immediately hugged her father upon hearing his answer. I have a couple of meetings today in Tokyo today. I'll try to watch you in the sports festival when I can. Thank you, father. I'll do my best. That's all I ask of you, my sweet girl. He said before kissing her forehead. Both of you do your best today and hopefully we'll have a lot to celebrate tonight. Miyako Yaoyorozu chimed in. Seiya shares one kiss with his wife before heading out the door. Back in real time, Seiya was coming to grips with his impending death. Thoughts of his wife and daughter flow through him. He's unable to even scream or run away from the plane roughly 50 feet from tearing through the building. Suddenly out of nowhere a figure clad in green appeared before him. He stood between the building and the incoming plane. Gale Palm. One called out as he threw out his hand in a spiral motion, creating a powerful whirlwind that engulfed the entire plane. The wind pressure was so powerful it significantly slowed down the plane with one's hands, bringing it to a complete stop with the wind keeping it afloat. Time to see what the hell this was all about? Flash clone. He created a speed clone to keep the plane up as he jumps off the air and phases through the nose of the plane going straight to the cockpit. Everything moved in slow motion as he sped up when he came through the controls. Two hijackers, one male the other female, looking to be in their early 20s. The male is protruding blades from his body and using them to hold the pilots hostage. The girl's just standing there nonchalantly. Looking at the controls, he sees that everything is turned off or at the very least disabled. So that's her quirk. Taking the pilots hostage and disabling the controls. Why? With imperceptible speed he broke the bladed limbs near the throats of the pilots, and with one punch to the gut and a kick to his leg he moved on to the girl and gave a heavy chop to the neck. He jumps through the door after becoming intangible and sees that a man with black hair was using his smoke quirk to suffocate several passengers. Everything is still in slow motion and the horrified faces of everyone both saddened and angered him. In a flash he lands one hard punch to the hijacker's stomach and frees the passengers. He goes back to the cockpit and finally stops with everything going back to normal with all the hijackers dropping from their injuries. The pilots looked at each other unable to process what was going on, as a moment ago they had prepared themselves for death. Listen, I've stopped the plane and defeated the hijackers. Try to get the controls back online while I go under the plane and carry you all to the airport, he said really fast and didn't give them a chance to respond as he had jumped through the side of the cockpit. Once he was on the outside he fell for a moment before kicking the air and flying beneath the plane. He was able to put it on his back and hold it up just as his clone faded and wind finally dissipated. Intech, I can carry this, but I'm gonna need you to guide me to the airport, buddy. I'm already ahead of you, bro, just go northwest. That didn't even take you 10 whole seconds to stop a potential national tragedy. For the sake of my curiosity, on a scale of 1 to 10, how heavy is that plane? Doing a lot of multitasking right now, but maybe a 1.5. He answered as he flew up with Skywalk. Of course it is. His sidekick said, completely unsurprised by that answer. One had the plane stabilized as he kept going straight up to prevent any collateral damage. Once he was high enough he began to head towards the airport. He was sure plenty of people were recording this, and the way he was carrying it probably looked more like a hovercraft than a plane. Carrying the plane and skywalking at the same time was surprisingly easier than he expected. During his training the heaviest thing he's ever carried while flying was a broken down bus. Still, it was good to know he could fly despite how large something was. If he could move faster than light speed he could do this. After a few minutes the airport came into view. He was able to get in touch with the control tower and they walked him through where to land the plane. After doing so, law enforcement and several pros surrounded the plane. He went back in to round up the hijackers with the flight crew having already cuffed them. He received many thanks from the passengers, the crew and the pilots, with many of them wanting to know his name. While he could have taken off, he decided to make sure everyone got off safely and help anyone who would understandably be stressed after their ordeal. After 5 minutes everyone was off the plane with the still knocked out hijackers being loaded up. As they were being loaded up he could see some yellow bugs flying out of the ears of the three and attempted to fly away. In a flash with one swipe he grabs all three. The pros and police watching are shocked by this sudden action. He opens his hands to see that he was holding 3 strange-looking bees. What in the world? He said as he observed the insects in his hand. All 3 of them suddenly made eye contact with him before exploding in his face. It didn't hurt him at all, but it was still surprising. His quirk nerd and detective side was analyzing everything about this incident. Bees coming out of people's ears, only the hijackers had them. They self-destructed when they were caught. Insects don't explode like that. They were either a quirk that produces insects or they were engineered with someone using their quirk to control them. He looked at the unconscious hijackers who seemed none the wiser about what had just happened. Those 3 were probably under some sort of mind control. I definitely need to keep tabs on them. This will be all over the media later if it isn't already. Issues for later. For now I have to get back to Hosu. He finished his thoughts before leaping into the air and flying back to the city. He'd been away roughly 15 minutes more or less. Hopefully Ingenium was okay and he could get to Stain, and after which check on the sports festival as it should be in its final stage by now. Back at the sports festival, Momo was facing Todoroki in the second round. The heterochromatic boy's left side burst into flames as he launched a giant wave of ice with Momo sidestepping to avoid it. Everything moved in slow motion as Todoroki extended his left hand to fire a blast of flames. In a flash Momo was in his face with her sword ready to slash him. Before the boy could release his fire, Momo hit him with a horizontal air slash that hit his torso, making him spit up blood and carry to the wall of the stadium with a loud crash. Todoroki is out of bounds. Yaoyorozu wins. Momo went back to the stands as health bots came to get Todoroki. Her fiends congratulated her on the win when she made it back. Way to go, Yamamoto. Ashido cheered. Thank you. Todoroki was a strong opponent. I think this was the first fight where he used his flames. It wasn't enough to stop you, Ms. Flash? Kaminari said playfully. Ms. Flash? How many nicknames am I going to get today? This made some of her class chuckle. Anyway, good luck, Ashido. You're up against Hananuki. Watch where you step and you should be fine. Thanks for the advice. She exclaimed before walking to the waiting room. Hey everyone, check this out. Ojiro called out to everyone who could hear him. What is it, man? Kirishima responded. A commercial airliner was hijacked and about to crash into some corporate building in Tokyo, but one came out of nowhere and stopped it. This got the attention of everyone. They all huddled around Ojiro as he showed the news coverage on his phone. It told of how a plane from Nagasaki had been hijacked on its way to Tokyo and about to crash into a corporate building. Momo's heart sank when she heard the name of the corporation but continued to listen. The report covered live witness reports and several videos of people who filmed the incident. The videos showed the plane flying into the building before a small figure appeared before it, stopping it with powerful wind pressure and their bare hands, then seconds later flying under the plane and lifting it into the sky before carrying it across the city. Another video showed it being taken to the airport with all of the people being safely taken out as well as the hijackers being taken into custody. The news got statements from the crew and passengers and all of them gave thanks to one. Several of them got photos with him and they talked of how he helped them with stress and how he was the hero to all on the plane. The broadcast ended with the news anchors giving their own take on the incident. All of them called one a hero while none agreed with his vigilantism. They accepted he stopped a tragedy. Man. That dude is so freaking manly. Kirishima exclaimed. He stopped that in no time flat. Ojiro stated. I will never agree with his vigilantism, but I must admit, that was very heroic. Ida chimed in. He stopped the plane, beat the hijackers, lifted the plane so it wouldn't damage the city and carried it to the airport. Seriously, why is this guy not a pro? How? Ciro asked. Excuse me, I have to make a call. Momo said in a sad-sounding tone as she walked to the hall. Momo walked into the hallway and found a secluded spot to talk in private. She had to call her father after seeing the news. The phone rings a few times before he picks up. Yes, daughter. Father, I just saw the news. Are you all right? I'm a fine, dear. My time did not come today. Were you there when it happened? Unfortunately, yes. I had actually accepted my fate when a savior clad in green intervened. He said with a thankful smile. I saw the news coverage of the incident. It was one. I've heard of him, but that was my first time seeing him. He's that vigilante from Mizurufu, correct? Yes, I have actually followed a few of his exploits. He really is amazing. Momo said with a smile tearing up slightly. I concur. I owe him my life. I saw your fight against the girl named Kendo, a stellar performance. The father smiled as he complimented his daughter. Thank you, father. I also won my last match and I'll be moving on to the third round. How are your meetings going? I was able to get through one before all the chaos went down. I canceled the other two and I'm returning home right now. I understand. I'll continue to do my best here and impress the pro heroes. You've more than impressed them. Keep up the good work, my sweet girl. I love you. I will. I love you too, father. She said before hanging up and allowing a few tears to fall. She wiped her tears, thankful her father was alive and she could still hear his voice, talk to him and genuinely tell him she loved him. Izuku, thank you, she said with genuine relief. Thanks and joy. Back in Hosu, one had quickly flown back to the city and went back on the hunt for Stain. He went back to the area he was patrolling earlier and when he got there he went on edge as he felt a wave of malice and the scent of blood hit his nostrils. He got on the ground and immediately ran in the direction of both. They seemed to be coming from the same place. After a quick dash and turning a corner he came across an alleyway where the malice and scent were definitely coming from. With his speed everything moved in slow motion as he looked into the alley. He was sad, scared and frustrated by what he saw. Ingenium was on the ground covered in his own blood, with a jagged sword stabbed into his back, and the man holding the sword was the man he had been looking for, the hero killer, Stain. He had intricately studied the police sketches, victim testimonies, eyewitness reports, and with him right in front of him they were pretty spot on. He was armed to the teeth with blades, a long white cloth for a mask, a blood-red scarf, hair more wild than his own, wraps on both his arms, shin, and knee protectors and spiked shoes. But none of that is what concerned him. His eyes, the look in his eyes is what worried him the most. He's too fast for him to have noticed him yet, but as he was stabbing Ingenium he had a look in his eyes that was all too familiar with him. It was a look he had seen many times because it was the same kind that he possessed. When he started investigating the hero killer, he assumed his motive was because he hated heroes. Maybe heroes failed him at a point in his life, like he lost someone important to him because heroes couldn't save them. But as he's looking into his eyes he could tell he was way off. Stain's eyes are just like his, the eyes of a fanatic. Someone who deeply admires heroes. This guy wanted to be a hero, he could tell. What could have happened that would make him walk this path? He needed to know. One speed blitzes down the alley and stops in front of Stain. He pivots his left and spins right, connecting a sidekick to Stain's stomach. He flies back and appears to clutch his stomach, but he reaches for his pocket knives and throws two at the hero. One snatches one in mid-flight and uses it to deflect the other one as Stain lands and skids. Before he could react, one throws the knife at Stain's foot, piercing it. The villain grunts in pain as he pulls the knife out. He looks at the hero who assumes a fighting stance. Taking a look at him, his costume may be different but he was sure he knew who this was. One readied himself to take down the hero killer but he kept looking down at Ingenium who wasn't looking so good. He had cuts and stab wounds all over his armor, blood was everywhere and the sword from a moment ago was surely piercing his spine. He may very well be paralyzed or at worst be in shock. One took his eyes off the immediate threat to check on the down hero, Ingenium. Ingenium, can you hear me? The hero didn't respond right away but he could tell that he was still breathing. You have to run away, get help. He managed to say through the pain and grunted breaths. This is really bad, I gotta get him to a hospital ASAP. He thought. He stood up to face the attacker. Don't worry, I'm gonna save you. Intech, how far is the nearest hospital and/or trauma center? Give me a minute pulling it up. After some short searching he found it. I got 3, the closest one is 13 kilometers from where you are now. Dip out that ally, take a right then ride down your first left turn and you'll eventually reach it. Got it. Stain watched the hero with interest, having heard him talking though not knowing with whom. He could tell he was prioritizing saving this false hero before fighting him. Maybe, he thought just maybe he was different. Tell me, are you one? One was surprised by his question, although he really shouldn't have been. Yeah, that's me, what of it? I'm curious, I've heard of the many things you've done as an illegal hero. Many in society sing your praises while pros and many in the media refuse to acknowledge you and all the good you do. You've handled incidents in ways that only All Might could. You clearly view yourself as a hero but you're not a pro. Why do you do it? One took a moment to think about his question. He knew and understood why he wanted to be a hero before he ever put the suit on. The moment he saw All Might's debut online he knew what he wanted to be. It's my dream. Stain's eyes narrowed at his response. Explain. From the moment I saw All Might's debut I knew what I wanted to be, a hero. Saving and helping others with a fearless smile, not for what you'll gain but because it's the right thing to do. People adore All Might all over the world, not because he's strong or because he's cool, that much is obvious. It's because he cares. He cares so much that he'll help anyone and everyone that he can reach from anything. I wanted to be a person like that. I dedicated myself to training and learning, gaining as many skills and as much strength as possible to be that. But all men are not created equally, and this world discriminates. I had a choice, let my dream die or take it into my own hands, and I chose the latter. It doesn't matter what people say. If I can use the skills and abilities I've trained to help someone in need, be that saving from someone else, rescue from a disaster or even just being a friend to someone who needs understanding, then that's enough for me. Meddling when you don't need to is the essence of being a hero. Even if no one knows my name or face, I'm still gonna be this hero. He finished, his words oozing resolve and conviction. Stain was happy to hear this, but talk is cheap. It was time to test that resolve. I have a question for you too. Why do you do what you do? The look in your eyes, it's one I've seen many times in myself. You're a hero fanatic, so why do this? He asked, demanding an answer. Stain narrowed his eyes as he recollected the reason for his mission, the reason behind his conviction. To create a better world, and a stronger society. He answered with conviction. What do you mean by that? One responded, genuinely curious to what he meant. The word hero has lost all meaning in this society. Hypocritical frauds who care more about fame, money and attention have tainted the very concept of the word. The thoughts behind his words seemed to make him angrier. But I will reclaim that word. I will cull the fakes and all those undeserving of the title hero. The only way for true heroes to rise in this society is for the frauds that blind everyone to fade away so those worthy can shine and show what it truly means to be a hero. One was taken aback by his words for a moment. He knew the hero killer had some sort of motive, and hearing his words he couldn't deny that he was right, but still. You're not entirely wrong, hero killer. There are a lot of pro-heroes in it for the wrong reasons. The term hero has become an occupation that anyone can pursue, so it's only natural that the true meaning wouldn't resonate the same in everyone. But still, killing, or crippling those who don't fit the bill isn't the way to go about it. That's where you're wrong in all of this. Instead of killing the so-called fake heroes, you should have become a hero who showed others how to be a true hero through his example, and in turn those you would have inspired and taught would pass that on to heroes coming after them. Your eyes say it all. You wanted to be a hero, didn't you? He exclaimed. The vigilante's words seemed to strike a chord in the hero killer, as in that moment he remembered his youth, his time in the hero course, and becoming disgusted by what the industry was truly about and wanted no part of it. He truly tried to use his words to influence the masses and get back to the days of true heroism, the days where it was all about using your quirk to help others in need, not because you're getting paid, or because you'll look good, or because you'll get a lot of endorsements, but because that's what a hero does. But the influence of fake heroes was too ingrained in society, and his words fell on deaf ears. He couldn't take it. Things had to change. Someone had to change them. If he didn't, who would? He resolved himself that he would change this world. He never wanted to kill anyone, but for a better world these were the sacrifices that had to be made, and he stood by that conviction. Yes, I wanted to be a hero. But the way the world is now, I wanted no part of it. He brings up his sword and a knife ready to fight. You're worthy of staying alive, one. You are a true hero. My mission requires that I finish that fraud on the ground. If you want to save him, you're gonna have to kill me. One, still in his stance, readies himself for battle. I came to this city to stop you anyway. No one here is dying, and that includes you. With his sword in his right hand and holding his knife backwards in his left, Stain attacked. In a flash of speed he slashes at one's right side, but is utterly shocked when the hero raises his right index finger to block and his sword breaks in half on contact. He tries to recover and attacks with his left, but one catches his fist and with a squeeze crushes both his hand and knife before pulling him close. The hero knees him in the gut, coursing pain through him and sending him skidding down the alley. Stain manages to stop himself, but the pain is intense. He still holds his half-broken blade as he looks to his opponent, but is shocked to see he's standing right in front of him. On pure reflex he thrusts his broken sword into the hero's chest, with his sword fully shattering against his body. Before he could fully process this, one delivers a back fist to his elbow joint and uppercut to the chin, breaking the former and bringing him off the ground. With Stain wide open, one lands 7 brutal punches to his stomach before jumping and finishing him with a flying spin kick, making him hit the wall beside him with a loud crash and leaving an imprint. The hero killer hit the ground defeated and unconscious. He sighed as he went to check on Ingenium. The turbo hero was in bad shape, but he was still alive and breathing. He took off his helmet and it looked like he was going into shock. At that moment some of his sidekicks passed the alley. They were horrified to see their leader so injured, but were even more so to see the hero killer defeated. One quickly explained the situation, telling them to watch over Stain and Ingenium as he ran to get a spine board as he needed to get to the hospital ASAP. He told them to call other pros and the police before he left because Stain was just that dangerous. In less than a minute one came back with a spine board and began applying first aid to the injured pro. Several heroes had arrived on the scene and the police were still en route. After getting him on the board he got him to the hospital as quickly and safely as he could. He looked on at the doctors taking away Ingenium for a while before heading back to the alley to make sure Stain was taken in without any hiccups. On the way he couldn't help but think about their talk before the fight. He was absolutely wrong for killing and crippling heroes, but his reasoning was understandable. Hero is an occupation these days, a job anyone can pursue, and some people may not be heroes in the truest sense, but they could learn. Stain's actions, while he had his reasons, they were easy. It's easy to just take out those who don't fit the bill of a hero. The harder thing is to lead by example and teach people. He could have done that. He could have put his ideals into becoming a true hero and cultivating those who would come after him. It made him sad to an extent because he was a hero fanatic just like him. He made it back to the area of the encounter and was shocked by what he saw. He wasn't even gone 5 minutes and every pro and some police were laid out, scattered across the area, clearly having been attacked. He also saw that Stain was gone, and upon inspecting the victims he was sure he didn't do it. He was too injured and no one had any bladed wounds. They all looked like they had been beaten. He found that Native was still conscious and tried to get some answers from him. Native. Can you hear me? What happened here? Where's Stain? The hero coughed up a little blood before he answered. It was a woman. After you left, a woman attacked us and took the hero killer away. He said through grunted breaths. What did she look like? What direction did they go in? Did you see? She had ash-colored hair, a fringe covering one of her eyes. She was lightning fast in. He never finished as he passed out from pain. One laid the unconscious hero down as he gathered his thoughts. Ash hair with a fringe over one eye, lightning speed. Tell me it wasn't? He looks off in the distance knowing if the culprit was who he thought it was. They were long gone by now. But that only raised many questions. He pushed them aside and got to work helping the injured before him. After finishing his first aid and medics came to get everyone, one took to the air and flew back to Mizurufu. This has been quite a day. Yes, it has. Intek agreed as he spoke into his cowl. I can't believe Stain got away. He was the whole reason for you coming to the city. Regardless, considering what would have happened with that plane, I'm still glad I came. As far as Stain goes, I'm certain we'll meet again. He won't be able to do anything for a while, so we'll have to go back to waiting. You know who helped him, don't you? Based on what Native said, my old senpai. The same one that helped the villains at the UA attack? That's the one. I have no idea why, but I'm gonna find out. Okay, we'll double back to this later. You going back to the sports festival? Yayarosa's killing it, you know. Yeah, I was headed there now. They should be in the final stage by now. How's it look? She made it to the final round and she's gonna be fighting that dumbass Bakugo, so you may want to get there quick because it starts in a few. Noted. What time do you want to meet up to head to Kashyyyk? Train ride isn't that long, so let's say 8 o'clock tonight. I already booked the hotel we'll be staying at and I got our disguises so we can just show up, drop our bags and head out. Alright, I might be having dinner with Momo and her family, so I'll head over after. See you then. The sidekick said before hanging up. Momo versus Bakugo, no way am I missing or being late to that. Skywalk, flash step. He became a blur, causing loud sonic booms as he flew towards UA Sports Festival. It's the final match of the UA Sports Festival. Momo Yaoyorozu and Katsuki Bakugo step into the arena ready to face each other. Alright ladies and gentlemen, this is the last match. This is for all the marbles. Present Mike exclaimed. They step into the ring and prepare to begin. Bakugo's nasty glare unfazed her as Momo looked out to the crowd. Looking across the stadium, she saw all the pros and fans ready for them to begin. And now for the final match for the first years, begin. Midnight exclaimed, starting the match. The moment the match began, Bakugo blasted himself forward using an explosion with Momo standing there waiting for him to get close. As she expected, he throws a right hook with an explosion. Momo merely sidesteps with it, completely missing, and before he could react, Momo wails on him with a flurry of punches before kicking him away. He almost goes out of bounds, but he uses a blast to save himself. He rushes at Momo again and throws a blast that she seems to take on purpose. He doesn't realize he hit an afterimage until he gets brutally kicked in the face. His face is one of rage as he picks himself off the ground. Momo creates a black staff with silver edges as the blonde comes back for more. Momo speed blitzes him and thrusts her staff into him. Bakugo is shocked when he is suddenly electrocuted by the staff. Momo quickly hits him 5 more times before hitting him in the head and kicking back. He twitches on the ground as he struggles to get up. What the hell? He exclaimed as he struggled to get up. She spun and twirled her staff as she explained. The ends of this staff are powerful tasers that release 50k volts. Concede defeat, Bakugo? She ordered as she held her staff ready to continue. Like hell! He roared as he got up and blasted towards her using some explosions he's able to get behind her, stun grenade. The blast is bright enough to blind Momo as she covers her eyes with an arm. Bakugo took this opportunity to get some distance and blast into the air. He begins to spin using blasts. He becomes a smoky missile as he builds up power. This'll end you, Ponytail, he thought as he approached the seemingly wide-open Momo. Howitzer. Slink. Bakugo's body was suddenly wrapped in a metallic capture net that bound and prevented him from releasing his built-up nitro sweat. He was still flying towards Momo and was shocked that instead of hitting her he passed right through her, hitting the ground hard and painfully bouncing and rolling until he landed outside the ring. Bakugo is out of bounds. The winner of the sports festival is Yaoyorozu. Midnight announced, with the crowd roaring with applause. For those with good hearing they would hear the blonde on the ground screaming Fuuuuuuuuuuuck. Standing on the edge of the roof of the arena, the Vigilante one looked down at the scene. I already knew he never stood a chance, but still a good show, Momo. I'm not surprised he didn't notice. When he thought he blinded Momo with his flash attack she made it look that way. In reality when she covered her eyes that was just an afterimage. She was already behind him when he got the distance to do his move. He never even noticed she was literally 2 steps behind him. Spinning was the worst thing he could have done because his momentum was used against him the moment he was wrapped in that net. And even if it didn't he would have used his strongest attack on an afterimage. Way to think far ahead of your opponent, Momo. The award ceremony happens with Momo on the first place podium, Bakugo being chained up and growling like an animal in second place, Tokoyami and Hananuki in third place. All Might came down and congratulated the finalist. After presenting the medals to everyone he gives a little talk about how anyone could have been standing on the podiums and to continue to work hard. To end his talk All Might said good job while the whole crowd said plus ultra. This made the crowd yell annoyed with the pros' missed opportunity. Way to mess that up, All Might. One thought as he turned and hopped off the roof of the stadium and chose to hit up some of the food stalls. To his surprise many people walked up to him wanting pictures and autographs, which he humbly obliged. He found a bento vendor and chose to get 2 boxes, but was surprised when the vendor, an elderly woman, just gave them to him. Are you sure, miss? I don't mind paying for them. It's perfectly fine one. Consider it my thanks for saving my daughter and granddaughter in Fuji. She said with a smile. Taking a closer look at the woman he was sure he knew who she was talking about. You mean? Yes, just as the Blue Menace was about to take their lives you saved them both. You have my eternal thanks. My granddaughter Teruko thinks you're the coolest thing ever. These words warmed the hero's heart. I'm honored, ma'am. I'm just glad I could help. Thank you for the bentos. It's been a long day and I'm really hungry. I hope you enjoy them. She said as she waved goodbye to the hero who began to walk away. That was a nice lady. It always feels good to know just saving one person has a domino effect on the people who care about them. He found a bench and sat down to eat his bentos. His plan was to enjoy these before running through requests on the app before heading to Momo's tonight. Opening his first one, it looked delicious. He snapped his chopsticks and dug in. After the first bite of his food only one thought enters his mind, delicious. The bento was so good he quickly scarfed it down. He could sense the eyes of several pros on him. He felt some of them getting closer and closer to him until 3 shadows loomed over him. Kamui Woods, MT Lady, Death Arms. I see you're all doing well. Nice festival, isn't it? What the hell are you even doing here, you punk? Death Arms demanded. Well, if it's not completely obvious, I'm enjoying these delicious bento boxes. I highly recommend you try one. But I guess a broader answer would be enjoying the UA Sports Festival. It is a big event every year after all. He said with a smile that made the man angrier. Kamui Woods spoke up. We're here doing security and we'd like to ask you to leave. Any particular reason? This is a no villain, no criminals allowed zone. You leave or we attack. The wooden hero answered with a threat. One knew there was no point in trying to talk to these people. We're using ultimatums now? Fine, then I'll go. But a little advice, caring more about stopping me versus stopping actual criminals causing chaos is not a good look for you. He said before taking his last bento and walking towards the exit. The 2 male heroes narrowed their eyes at the vigilante as he walked away with MT Lady looking unsure. One spent the rest of the day knocking off requests on the app and stopping crime throughout the city. It had been one of his busiest days in a while. He was all over the media with videos and news reports of him stopping the plane on every outlet. His encounter with Stain also made the news. Apparently there was a street camera that recorded the entire encounter. It showed Ingenium's fight with him and his own, with the audio revealing everything that was said. It even showed who saved Stain after he got Ingenium to the hospital, and as he suspected, it was Taki Tachibana. To his surprise, many in the media were saying good things about him, and his talk with Stain wasn't edited at all, though true to form Katakuri went on his radio show and slammed him as usual. Yaoyorozu Mansion. Momo had won the sports festival, and he gave her a time when he would come over to celebrate with her. He was sure her parents would have a big dinner to celebrate her win. After getting past the front gate and making it to the front door, he is let in by Saikawa. "Hello Midoriya, how are you this evening?" "I'm doing fine Saikawa, yourself?" He responded with his eyes closed. "I am well. We will be having dinner shortly, and the madam asked me to send you to her room when you arrive." He thanked the butler before bowing and heading to Momo's room. He knocked on the door to her room and she tackled him into a hug when she opened it. He got a case of déjà vu as he returned the hug. "Thank you so much Isuku," she said with pure gratitude as she clung to him. "You're welcome, but what did I do?" he asked, confused. She said as she let him go and looked him in the eyes. "You saved my father today. Thank you so much." He took a moment to register her words. "Wait, was he on the plane today?" Momo shook her head. "No, he was in the building it was about to hit. As a matter of fact, he was right behind you when you stopped it." "Wow. Is he okay? I mean mentally?" "After the incident today he cancelled his remaining meetings and came home. I called him after I saw the news report. I'm just so thankful that he's still alive," she said as a tear escaped her eye that Isuku quickly wiped. "It's okay Momo, you still have your father. I'm just glad I was able to make it on time. I saw the sports festival, you put on a great show." They then sat on her huge bed. "Thank you. I had a handful of pros congratulate me as we left the arena. I actually wanted to congratulate you in person, but MT Lady, Kamui Woods and Death Arms ran me off." "You were there?" "Yeah, I was on the roof of the arena and saw your fight with Bakugo. You had him beat from the start. I just wanted to show as many skills as I could. Sensei actually called me after to congratulate me, but she did get on me for not using my body more instead of using a weapon. Speaking of, when did you learn to make that taser staff? That was really cool. I asked Fujiwara to make one for me and give me the structural formula for it. I wanted something unique to show at the sports festival. I actually regret that I didn't use it more." "So that day at the cafe, that's what Taku gave you?" "Yes, that's right. I saw your interview after you won. You looked really good on camera." "Way to give kudos to Michiko." "Well, I owe a lot to Sensei. My training may have been brutal, but I love her for it, so thanking her was natural." "I think I did pretty well." "You definitely did. I'm pretty sure every pro who saw the festival is impressed with you. So you know where you want to do your internship?" "I'm not really sure. I'll have to wait and see who scouts me before I make a decision." "Well, it's just a possibility, but if Mirko or Ryukio scouts you, you should probably go with one of them. They are top-ranking pros. I wouldn't mind." "Both of them trained with Sensei as well, correct?" "That's right, and I don't think I told you this, but I teamed up with Mirko yesterday and I told her to watch you in the festival," he said with a charming smile. Momo smiled back at him. "Look at you making connections with pro heroes. What, not all pros hate me? I would actually love to have some hero friends. I think I have some in Hawks and Mirko." This made Momo's eyes widen. "You met Hawks too?" "Yeah, we teamed up yesterday too. It was pretty fun. Even though he did a lot of piggybacking, we got a lot of work done and helped a lot of people," he said with a smile. "You're always on the move Izuku. It almost makes me wish I was a pro now so I could join in. It's strange. I still resent the Hero Academia for rejecting me, but I feel this is the path I was meant to take. I've done so many things and helped so many people since I put on the suit, and not to sound negative or conceited, but if I hadn't, many people would have suffered or worse, not be here anymore. When I think about that, I'm certain that despite the negative connotation of vigilante, this was definitely the right thing to do," he said confidently without a shred of doubt. Momo's heart fluttered at his words. Seeing him so confident and passionate was truly charming. He was right. If he let that rejection break him and not become one, she would have lost her father today. She was truly grateful to him. She also wanted to ask him about something else. Isuku, what happened to the hero killer? You want to know about that? I saw the video, but I want to hear about what happened from you. Okay, here's what happened. He went on to tell her the whole story of his encounter with Stain, how he found him after he attacked Ingenium, their talk, how he beat him and knocked him out, how he took the hero to the hospital, and how it all ended. I had my suspicions, but after I saw the video I now know that Tachibana-senpai is the one who saved Stain. What are you going to do now? Momo asked. All I really can do is go back to waiting. Not sure what senpai has planned for him, but he'll be back when he recovers, and when he does I'll stop him for good. That's enough about my hero life. I came here to celebrate with you, and my time before my next case is finite. So let's hang out and celebrate. He exclaimed. Let's do it. But first, do you mind telling me what that kiss was for? She asked, narrowing her eyes and making a sly face. This question threw him off for a moment, but he regained his composure. It was a good luck kiss, one that clearly worked. That it did. So what are you gonna do now? She smiled at him while giving a knowing look. He returned with a charming smile and a knowing look. Well, right now, I want to celebrate, spend time with, and give another one to the smartest, most amazing, kindest, most strikingly beautiful girl I have ever met in my life. He ended this with his emerald eyes meeting her onyx ones as he took her hand into his while leaning in. I'd like that. Momo said as she leaned in and her eyes closed. The two teens connected at the lips, setting off fireworks between them. Instinct took over. Momo brought her free hand to the boy's cheek, deepening the kiss, and she absolutely melted. Isuku was in heaven at the moment. He's wanted to do this for a very long time. He was surprised at how natural it felt for his first kiss. This was a moment he would truly never forget. The two broke the kiss and stared into each other's eyes. They would surely have kissed again if it weren't for the knock at the door. Momo turned to the door. Come in. In walks Saikawa. Hello madam, I've come to inform you that dinner is ready. Thank you so much Saikawa. We'll be down in a moment. The butler closed the door. That would have been awkward. Thankfully Saikawa always knocks before entering my room. My mother, not so much. Yeah, if that were your mom it would have been awkward. Do you think they'll have a problem with us? No, it should be fine. We'll tell them at dinner, but before that. She cups his cheek and they go into another make-out session. After an amazing dinner with Momo and her parents, the two told them that they were together, with her father and mother being surprisingly chill about it. He told Momo about his plans in Kashyyyk tonight, and she gave him a good luck kiss that blew his mind. He meets up with Taku at the train station, and after a quick train ride they make it to the city. They get to their hotel and change into their disguises. I hear that one of the rules of the underground masquerade is that everyone has to wear a mask, so I rolled with these. He gestured to both of them in their clothes. Taku was wearing black jeans, black and gray sneakers, a black t-shirt with a gray sleeveless vest over it, a black face mask that covered his neck, mouth and nose with a gray headband covering his left eye, along with several concealed gadgets. Isuku was wearing black baggy jogger shorts with red and black sneakers, with a red and black jacket with a rabbit-eared hood that formed a plain-looking mask when fully zipped. Under that he wore a black head wrap over his standout green curls. I get the need for a mask, but seriously man? He exclaimed at his disguise. What, you'll need a stage name when you fight. Once on a break, tonight you're the Red Rabbit. He exclaimed. Really? Oh well. He unzips his jacket. Let's try to find this place, and more importantly the answers to Nomu. Based on what Mirko told me, the person making them is definitely linked to this event, so let's go. The two teens exited the hotel and went off into the streets of Kashyyyk, unsure of what they'll find, but hoping they'll find and discover everything they're looking for. In an undisclosed location, Stain wakes up on a bed, fully on edge from his unfamiliar surroundings. He lifts himself up and sees that his wounds had been treated somewhat, but he would still need some time to fully recover, effectively putting his mission on hold. So you're finally awake, hero killer. Came a feminine voice out of nowhere. Looking to the right corner of the room he saw a woman roughly in her early 20s looking at him, arms crossed. Who the hell are you? The man demanded. You could call me a supporter, but I'd much rather be an ally. You drag me to a strange place wanting to be my ally when you won't even tell me your name? Oh, that's what you meant? Sorry, I'm not the best with social cues. My name is Taki Tachibana, and I'm assuming you prefer to be called Stain? That's right. Now why have you brought me here and what do you want from me? I thought the answer to your first question would be obvious, so you wouldn't be arrested and thrown into Tartarus. And as for what I want from you, I want you to join me. With what? We share a common goal, Stain. We both strive to build a better world. Both of us are able to clearly see through the darkness that blinds society and want to dispel it in order to bring about a better world. You kill false heroes to create a stronger society. I for one feel this country, hell, this society isn't worth saving as long as it's controlled by the lowest of the low. She said with conviction. Your eyes, you've seen truly despicable things, haven't you? There is conviction in your words. Before I give you any sort of answer, tell me, why do you fight? What do you have to offer, and how far can your ideal take you? If you want to hear my story, then get comfortable. My hell started 5 years ago. Just thinking about it makes me sick to my stomach. If I only knew what I know now, I would have told 17-year-old me to stay in that tent. She went on to tell Stain her story, with the man giving his full attention with every word she said. Then she said something that caused a mix of shock, curiosity and anger to build within him. The Public Safety Commission trains its own personal heroes? Heroes is the official term, but a more appropriate word would be soldiers. Trained to complete any and all missions given to them by the Commission, and crossing every single line to do it, all for the sake of their notion of peace. She answered him and continued her tale. That's it for today's episode of Chronos. We hope you enjoyed part 4 of our exploration of the What If Deku Became Saitama universe. If you want to see more what if scenarios or have any suggestions for future content, be sure to leave a comment below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to stay up to date on all our latest videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Chronos.